like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show, weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out to hit that like button, because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead, hit that like button, because you already know what time it is, and you know this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've seen other people do it well. Well, what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button. And everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. There are so many people who need to get great content like this. And it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media, share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone, but do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks, today we are coming with another great episode. We are looking at President Obama on what's happening to the boys, y'all. That a very interesting conversation took place on, I'm sure most of y'all are aware, Michelle Obama has her own podcast. And she had a very interesting conversation, and she used a Trump card. She married to a president. Okay, so of course she was going to use it at some point. I'm sure it'd be used again at some point. But she brought in Obama himself, y'all. Not Michelle Obama. She brought in Barack Obama, okay? She brought in Barack Obama because, hey, y'all know this was going to happen at some particular point in time. Now, I assume that this is the first time that she brought him in, because I'm pretty sure if she'd have brought him in another time, we probably would have heard about it already. I ain't heard nothing about that, so I'm assuming this is the very first time, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen in the future, because anytime, stuff don't look right, hey, you bring in, former president, and if y'all don't know, you do call former presidents president, regardless of them being a former president. That is actually a correct way to address them, if you don't happen to know that already. So she brought in President Obama. I'm sure that get your ratings up or whatever, get you the views or whatever the case is. But I'm going to say the conversation was a little bit telling, okay? Not just on president. It definitely was telling on Michelle. But before we go into this too much, let me take a moment out to give credit what credit is due, y'all, because I got great people who support this channel. I love and appreciate each and every one of them. Shout out to all my people listening from around the world. Always great to know that y'all listening around the world because, I do talk in American context because I don't try to act like I'm an expert in anybody else's country. But as people have even admitted before, a lot of countries go through some very similar things like what's going on here in America. So I understand people can relate. And then there may be some people who are from America just happen to live abroad right now and they're going to listen too. So shout out to all my people abroad who are listening and you don't happen to be in the States. But also, shout out to my main man, Joe's. He is the sponsor of today's stream. He has been blessing the brother's channel for a good little minute, and I definitely appreciate the blessing. So shout out to Joe's. He is the sponsor of today's stream. And y'all, please keep in mind, big or small, I do appreciate it all. Okay, big or small, I do appreciate it all. Thank you for everybody who financially contributes to the channel. Thank you to everybody who gives me views. Thank you to everybody who actually listen to this stuff, study this stuff, implement some of this stuff in your own life. Thank you to everybody who shares this with other people because we can make things great if we just spread the word, y'all. If you just spread the word, we can make things great. Real talk. All right. But let me give us some shout outs to some of the first people to check in because when you start up a show, it's always great to see people start chiming in when you get there. But y'all know how it goes, and you should at some point in time be this. It's right. It's the righteous teacher today. But shout out to the righteous teacher. He has earned that critical spot of being what we like to call here at the Roger Report Live, the Highlander of today's stream. Shout out to the righteous teacher. Always good to see you, brother. Always good to see you. He in the right place at the right time. And hey, that's how it goes. Shout out to shout out to the Saute Sheriff is in the house. Mr. Shug to you was in the building. Glad to see you, my brother. Glad to see you. I'm laughing at your comment, just so you know. Shout out to Sarah B. Hey, glad to see you, Sarah. Hey, Sarah. How you doing? Always good to see you. Shout out to I'm listening. He is in the building. Afro Merchant has pulled up a seat to the cool table. Glad to see you as well. Floyd Thompson is checking in. Yay, yay. We got So Fresh, So Clean in the house. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Always great to see you. Always great to see you. Inspired Truth Broadcast is in the building. Good to have you, brother. Tunnel Run is in the house. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Yeah, hey, one of the best wives in the business, y'all. One of the best wives in the business. Shout out to Tunnel Run. And we about to get started, y'all. We about to get started, y'all. You know what? We may be able to, with the stuff that Tunnel Run tells us about his wife, we can make a case that he got a better wife than the president. We can make a case for that. Nah, but real talk though. Hey, shout out to Michelle Obama because without her doing this particular podcast, we wouldn't see this stuff and she wouldn't let so much out. Okay, she wouldn't let so much out. So, hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. But y'all, I checked out very interesting stream, y'all, and I'm gonna call it interesting because President Obama, I was wondering how he was going to handle certain things that was going to come up on this thing and how he was going to handle maybe certain questions or whatever, kind of how he was going to go with things. All right. Shout out to Better You. I see you in the building. Glad to see you, brother. Glad to see you. Now, they got into a conversation and they're talking about boys growing up. Now they did mention manosphere. So I could understand a little bit more why certain people were covering it. But I do want y'all to understand when people say manosphere, they're really not talking about the black manosphere. They could include the black manosphere possibly if they even know it exists. But they're talking about manosphere as the white folks. Now it's other people in that manosphere that are not white, but they're generally talking about white men. Now, they did use the term extremists. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all the straight up truth. I don't listen to them guys. So, are they extremists? I doubt it. I do believe there's individuals in there that are extremists because it's a bunch of white people. If you get too many white men together, I'm pretty sure you're going to have some extremists in there. I mean, they're white. What, you know what I'm saying? If you keep white folks to a small number, you probably won't get any extremists. But if you're talking about white folks in any large number, yeah, you're going to have some extremists in there. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anybody who's content creating over there is extremist. Plus, I hear them say extremist, but I don't think it's like anything they're saying, because if you say that somebody's extremist and you don't explain how, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I'm just keeping it real. All right. It's one thing if somebody asks you a question and you just say extremists, and then you kind of go into what they were saying, or if you just didn't really have a chance to explain it, but you're on a podcast to talk. You know, you're having this quote unquote talk show. The whole point of a talk show is talking. So when you say somebody's extremist, you know, you're supposed to say something to go on with that. Did they have anything to go along with that? I don't believe they did. Now, I'm going to also take in consideration that, okay, we're talking about a man who has been the highest level of government. If there was some real extreme stuff going on, he would probably be aware of it based on how long ago he was in the White House. Okay. So he'd probably be aware. So maybe he's heard something from a few extremists, because again, you got a bunch of white folks involved in that. And when you get a bunch of white guys together, extremists will come up. But is that the majority of those people? I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? I can't say for sure. And they are white, so I'm always going to take it with a grain of salt when you get too many white men together. You know, too many white men, sure, there's somebody's going to be extremist. Is it an extremist group? I don't listen to them to say that they are or they're not, because I don't care about them like that. It just is what it is. Okay? Now, there are people in the black manosphere, they'll say manosphere even when they are regarding the black manosphere, which I don't think is a good thing. It's intelligent to me to separate yourself from, especially a bunch of unsupervised white people. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm really going to claim a bunch of unsupervised white people, you know, in a conversation. You know, like if I'm talking about America as a whole, that yeah, technically I'm claiming it there because I'm talking about us as a country, but you ain't gonna really hear me claiming unsupervised white people too much. Okay, it just is what it is. But the fact that they didn't say anything about what made the quote unquote manosphere extreme, yeah, I peeped that. You know what I'm saying? I really peeped that. Okay. Now I watched just about the whole broadcast because I like to watch a lot of stuff right before the show starts. So I think I got in everything but maybe the last 9 minutes. Okay. So I don't know if they would have brought them up specifically in the last 9 minutes that I haven't seen yet, but I watched the rest of it. President Obama, he sounded, I'm going to say okay, y'all. I'm going to say he sounded okay. I ain't going to say it was good, but I ain't going to say it was bad. He sounded okay. You know, when being asked about, you know, how boys should be raised, and, you know, he said, hey, you know, as a father of daughters, you know, I want boys to be okay so they can grow up basically into, you know, productive men. But I mean, I do understand President Obama was raised by some white folks himself. He was raised by his white single mother. Okay. And he was raised by his white grandparents. And that's what he confirmed again. So I understand President Obama can't, well, I ain't going to say can't, but I understand he probably wouldn't be at where a lot of brothers would be on certain things. So I do get that, because, you know, I ain't going to say he ain't a black man. I definitely respect him as a black man, but he did have the disadvantage of being raised by white people. Just is what it is, you know. He said he remember meeting his father. Okay. But hey, that was just a meeting. Now, why his mama wasn't with his father, where he was being raised in his father's home, obviously that's a failure on her part at the end of the day. It is a failure on her part. So it is what it is. Okay. Now shout out to Kings Don't Squeal. Kings Don't Squeal said the black manosphere to majority is a threat outside of the space, Roger. They consider you extreme. Look, Kings Don't Squeal. I'm a black man. They already consider me extreme. I'm a black man in America. How can I not be extreme? Especially if you're a black man that don't bow down to just anything because they say so. That already makes you extreme. So that ain't got nothing to do with manosphere. And I don't think a lot of brothers really actually understand that. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm just saying let's keep it real. As a black man, when you don't bow down to the status quo, they already consider you extreme anyway. If you're not saying yes sir, boss, in some kind of way, evening master, how's we doing today? If you not capitulate, you're already extreme. So guess what? I've been extreme for a long time. Okay. Not extreme in any real way, but extreme in the opinions of people that think I'm supposed to act like I'm less than human. And let's keep it real. America as a whole does believe I'm supposed to act like I'm less than human. That's just the way it is in this country. Okay, so why would I even worry about what they think as far as what extreme is? Okay, now, truth be told, the fact that it was mentioned, it's a subtle way to threaten people. Okay, the fact that it was mentioned like that, it was just it's a subtle way to threaten them, because you got to look at who's saying it. You're talking about a former president of the United States who still has all types of contacts or whatever. Okay, so it was a light threat. Okay, but let's get into the real of this. And I'm gonna say just Michelle Obama just kind of let it hang out too much. She just don't like men in general. Well, she don't like black men for sure. I'll say that. She, just to be more accurate, she don't like black men in general. Okay, because they were having a conversation. I'm not saying other people couldn't have been included, but black folks were a particular focal point in the conversation. So she obviously don't like black men, and you can hear it a little better because she was involved in this particular conversation. Obama was not trying to go too far. That's why I think he was handling the thing. He wasn't trying to go too far, and he was trying to be careful with his words. But I mean, this is President Obama. We know the man know how to speak. Of course, he ain't gonna go too far in certain areas, So now Michelle just kind of let it hang out, but I don't think she knew she was letting it hang out the way she was truly letting it hang out, because this is the thing. When it was mentioned, they said they don't want boys to seek out places that are online to develop a sense of manhood. Now let's think about that. Why would you not want boys to go online to seek out a sense of manhood? Now let's keep it real. Boys ain't coming to no manosphere. People try to present that as something because they want to have a leg to stand on and saying things are extreme. And I'm not going to really sit here and defend white folks like that. And then I don't listen to their content anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just to be on the real, I just don't. Okay. White people are going to always have different issues going on, even with similar problems. That if black men and white men have a problem, our problems ain't going to even be the same, even if they are considered the same. Because white people live in a different society, a different world than black folks do in this country. We don't share the same world. And I know a lot of people don't want to deal with that, but we don't share the same world. Okay. If I get arrested for the same act as some random white guy get arrested for the same act, more than likely my penalty is gonna be different than his, because we don't share the same world. We might live in the same country, but we don't share the same world. Our stuff is always gonna be a little bit different, or a whole lot different, truth be told, in a lot of cases. So the thing is, they're talking about they don't want boys to get a sense of manhood from somebody who's online. Now, let's think about this, y'all. What does that really say? That says I'm concerned that people ain't raising their children correctly because they don't spend time with their kids, so their children will have an idea or a sense of manhood on their own. And because I'm such a bad parent, and they did say, a lot of these kids are being raised by single mothers. Well, I'm such a bad parent, okay, that my children will get online and develop their sense of self. Because I'm going to tell you the truth, y'all. That's what I heard. If you are concerned with some boys getting online, finding a manosphere, whether it's a white manosphere, black manosphere, or somebody who ain't even claiming manosphere, just if you think your son is going to develop his whole sense of self based on the fact that he's not getting that at home, I mean, keeping it real, that's really sounds like I'm a bad mother. Because if a father was there, he's going to develop some sense of who he's supposed to be as a man because his father is actually present. So if that's your true concern, you are really concerned about children who are being raised by women. You're not trying to come out and say it, but what you're saying is women don't do a good job raising their sons. Now you can stretch that out to the girls too, but that's what you're concerned with. I don't want my son learning how to be a man because I'm not going to be a good enough parent to actually handle that myself. I'm going to make sure I remove that boy from his father so he won't get it from his father. Now, what good mother doesn't want her son to develop a sense of manhood from his father? You see, you got to think about the question I'm asking, and you got to pay attention to the game that's being played. What good mother is concerned with with their sons forming their sense of manhood from their father? What good mother is concerned with that? None. Because a good mother don't need to concern herself with that. Why? Because the father's going to raise the son. So she already know where his sense of manhood is going to come from. So only a mother who's not a good mother truly has to concern herself with where her son will develop a sense of manhood. Now, let's also keep this real. How many boys are listening to men online? See, a lot of times people just throw stuff out there so you'll chase your tail. What boys are listening to men online? Now, I'm not going to say it ain't no boy. It ain't no guy that's actually 17 and under listening to men online. But the truth is they're concerned because there's men listening to men online. And men ain't going through a check system with women. Now, of course, this is going to be extra concern to black women. Because the issue is black men ain't checking in with black women to see if it's okay. That's what I'm hearing being discussed. Well, how do we control these boys if they're not checking in with the women to see what's okay? Because see, these little niggas here, these little niggas need to be developed the proper way. These little niggas need to be developed in a way where they can serve women and never have a concern for themselves. And these little niggas don't understand what's going on because they're not, quote unquote, emotionally intelligent. These little niggas don't know what they're doing. So the last thing we need is for these little dumb niggas, okay, to hear somebody online who's making a lot of sense to them. So, and they'll develop something where they start listening to these people that make sense to them online. The last thing we want is these little niggas to listen to some man that makes sense to them online. How can you have that as a real concern? Because at the end of the day, if you concerned they're going to listen, when do people listen to people that don't make sense to them? Let's get that real now. I tell y'all all day long. Now, I did listen to this, y'all, but I did this because I'm a content creator. If I wasn't a content creator, I wouldn't listen to this. Well, I ain't going to even say what I was about to say. I just wouldn't be listening to it. If I wasn't a content creator, I would have no interest in listening to what I just heard. Okay? I would have zero interest. Okay? Because real talk, I don't really want to hear Michelle Obama's opinion. I done seen in enough news clips that I done got enough of Michelle Obama's opinion. So no, I wouldn't go to listen to her. Would I listen to Barack speak? Yes. I've listened to Barack do interviews in other places where I don't have to hear Michelle. That's real talk. Okay. Barack Obama, I ain't gonna say he right on everything, but he sound much better when she ain't around. I'll just say that. He sound much better when she's not around. All right. Now, I ain't mad at nobody for listening to it. You know, you listen to who you want to listen to. I don't think I need to tell people who they should or shouldn't listen to. That's on you at the end of the day. You know, you're going to die with your beliefs. You know, it's always going to be on you. I ain't really worried about it. I just, you know, I like the fact that you look at me and say, hey, let me listen to that guy. I know that's going to help, period. That's how I see it. Listen to me will help, even if you listen to people who saying absolute nonsense. You still come over here, and I do believe that's going to be help. You know, and that's not me being arrogant. That's just my honest opinion. Okay. Now, President Obama didn't say too many things that I would just be 100% and absolutely concerned with. Now, I'm gonna say shout out to Sarah B. She says Andrew Tate, they couldn't tolerate that. My boys told me about him, so I'm glad he was out there. Now I'm gonna say this. I know Andrew Tate is a big name. I don't listen to him. I've never actually sat down and listened to him. And my apologies, Mr. Z. I was supposed to listen to something, and I think he was speaking on that. And I'm gonna try to go back and check that out because I was supposed to listen to something. But yeah, I ain't never heard the dude talk. Not for real, you know. I've seen him talking like a clip or something, but I don't listen to the guy. But if people are concerned with what he's saying, I think that's their fault. And you know what I understand about him is he's just another guy who ain't checking in with women to say what women want him to say, and that is a huge concern. And y'all, I do believe the reason this came up on Michelle Obama's podcast is because it is a huge concern to Black women. Y'all got to think about our society. It's a huge concern to Black women that boys will grow up and even men are going to listen to other men that do not check in with women. You know, someone like myself who literally told y'all, I don't really care what women think in the first place. Okay. And people say, well, you know, that's bad. No, it ain't. You ain't going to die for it. You ain't going to fight for it. You ain't going to have no battles for it. And I'm talking about women in general. For anything they get, they're not going to really do much for it. If we give it to them, they'll take it. If we give them room to go get it, sure, they'll go get it. Outside of that, what they going to really do? Why would I concern myself with a person who ain't going to really put up a fight for nothing? Now, if you my woman, sure, I listen to you. You know, I will listen to women to, you know, get ideas and stuff to use for the show. I listen to them so I can know who they are as a people. But, you know, listen to them as in they're finna direct me. Why? They don't even have the same concerns I got. You know, women just do stuff. And I get it because they expect somebody else to pay. You know, when I started hearing about the women getting thrown out of homes, you know, once they said, hey, now y'all got to pay y'all rent. And I said that when I did a show that covered that, when I found out, you know, they put a moratorium on the rents and whatnot, and people just didn't have to pay, you know. And I'm like, okay, you gonna not pay right now, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they eventually say y'all got to start paying rent again? What you gonna do then? So then, we hear these stories about a bunch of women who were thrown out. Of course they were thrown out. What did we expect was going to happen? They're going to get thrown out because they expect somebody else to pay for them. You rent someplace, you ain't paid your mortgage or your rent, I would say. I know it was something going on with the mortgages too. I was talking to somebody about that but I don't even want to mince up what was going on with the folks with the mortgages, because there was people who was trying to get stuff on the back end. And it was just a few different situations I heard about when it came to the mortgages. I never paid attention to any of that stuff because my thing was like, no, I'm just going to pay and I ain't going to worry about it. Why? Because my daddy taught me you got to pay where you stay when I was a kid. Okay. He said you got to pay for where you stay. That's always going to be an issue. Okay. Until you die, that's going to be a thing. You're going to have to pay where you stay. So I never thought for a second to not pay a mortgage or not pay rent. And I told all my people, nah, you pay, because what you going to do when it's time to pay? All right. You going to have 100,000 sitting around? Well, you could just throw a little chunk of that at whatever you owe when they say you got to pay. And we don't even know when they're going to say you got to pay again. So as I'm listening to them talk, okay, I'm hearing Barack Obama talk about his mama. His mama done took him to the airport. She let him fly alone. What he said, 8 years old. And I know some people may say, well, yeah, that's just way too young. To me, sometimes that depends on the kid, but you got to have a good situation to send an 8-year-old off by themselves. But then you ain't even get a man the passport. And I'm not tripping, y'all. Anybody can make a mistake at any point. But I'm gonna say this, y'all. I'm gonna say this. You have a white woman, and even though white women can make great mothers, you have a white woman in a particular situation where she's not with the man she had the kid with. If you're not with the man you had the child with, I don't expect much out of you anyway. I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't expect much out of you. Whatever's going on in your situation when you have a child by a man and you're not with the man for whatever your reason is. Now, if you're a widow, I get it. But if you're not a widow, I don't expect much out of women like that. So when he told the story, even though that was years ago, I ain't got no high expectation on her. She not with the man she had a baby with. No reason for me to have a high expectation on her. And then she white on top of that. So there are white people who are just, as they say, carefree, go-lucky people. And she could definitely have been one of those women. Then he said she was kind of liberal anyway. That probably was what kind of woman she was. You don't put real high expectations on folks like that if you're smart. I'm going to say that. You don't put the expectations on folks like that. Okay? And then I'm thinking, okay, as old as Barack Obama is, yeah, that's a whole different, the climate was slightly different than it is now. I just say that. It was slightly different than it is now. So she walking around as a white woman with a black baby. Yeah, I could see her, Now, did she care if he ever got snatched up or something? I'm not going to say she didn't care. He claims that she loved him. So all I got is what he claims. All right. But hey, what's losing a black kid back in them days? I'm just saying, what's losing a little black boy back in them days, especially if you're a white woman? What's the big deal? So now, as they're talking about parenting, okay, yeah, parenting should be taken seriously. All right. He did make a point to say, people should pay attention to what's happening to the boys. And I know in the little clip that I put in, he's talking about feelings and all that. But I will say in his defense, Michelle Obama was asking him questions directly on what about feelings. And I get why feelings are such a big deal to women, because women would allow their feelings to rule most of their life. Men, we have a feeling, but we just don't let our feelings take control of most of our lives. Yes, anybody can have an emotional reaction, But how you feel don't dictate everything about your life. When you got kids to raise, you get up and you go to work because that's what you need to do. So your kids can be fine. It ain't about how you feel. You know? Yeah, I do get that black fathers get up and go to work. That's a normal thing. You know, when they were talking about their father, you know, Michelle's father, and I forget the brother name at the moment, but Michelle is there with her brother. They talked about their father getting up going to road. Right? I mean, that's not abnormal. That's what black fathers do. Okay. But the thing is, we don't allow ourselves to be ruled by our feelings. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of men that didn't feel like getting up going to work. But he got a wife and he got children, so he got up and went regardless of his feelings. You know? And, you know, I know a lot of women are trying to push this emotional intelligence things. And it's a very dumb concept based on what I've heard about. It's an extremely dumb concept because basically what they're trying to do is convince men that you're supposed to act like a girl. I'm not going to even say you're supposed to act like a woman. You're supposed to act like a girl. And they act like if you ain't got the good sense, they act like if you have the good sense to not allow your feelings to rule every situation, something is wrong with you. Which is extremely stupid. Okay. Shout out. Shout out to Afro National. I mean, excuse me. Shout out to Afro Merchant, man. Shout out to Afro Merchant. He just gave me a correction, y'all. He said his name is Michelle's brother. I think in this case, I can roll with that. I can roll with that in this particular case, man. His name is Michelle's brother. Hey, works for me. Okay, works for me. Okay, because we all know the important name there in the first place. This is Barack Obama. That's the important name. You know, Michelle got a podcast because she was married to the right man. I ain't mad at her. You know what I'm saying? You do get actual benefits when you marry the right man. And this is just one of hers. Okay. Regardless of how she acts, this is one of her benefits of being married to the right man. It is what it is. Now, I didn't think Barack was getting too off the wall with the things that he was saying. You know, yeah, boys, you know, people do need to be concerned with what's going to happen to boys. Now, I don't think he put enough emphasis on stuff, but I mean, he is a guy raised by white folks. So he's, you know, there's a deficiency there anyway. Okay. And I know a lot of people don't get it, but, you know, like, you know, there's plenty of black people who, you know, y'all have heard them light skin. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard jokes about somebody acting light skin. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily pick up on that, but obviously that's a joke that was created to say that you're kind of deficient because you got too many white genes in you, or you too mixed with white people. You know, you still light skinned, so it's a deficiency. As a black man, you know, the white part of you is your deficient part. You know, that's where I believe it came from. Because if you look at what the joke's saying, that's how it makes sense. But even if it wasn't thought about from that perspective, then my thing is it should be thought about as that perspective. You know, if you go make a light skinned joke on somebody, you're really talking about they're deficient because they gene pool been mixed a little too much with white folks. So you're not as good as a black man. And then, like I say, you know, Barack Obama, me knowing he was raised by a white woman, me knowing he was raised by white grandparents, I don't expect him to be, you know, I just don't expect him to have certain things that other black men are going to have. Now, those things can be developed over time. It's, you know, and it is his responsibility after his 18th birthday. But yeah, you're going to have some perspectives that's a little bit different. But I don't think he said that just too crazy at the end of the day. I even heard him mention the part about having a gay professor. Okay. But he didn't say nothing too crazy. You know, and this is the thing, y'all. People act like black folks done had issues with gay folks. No, he was a black man. He had a gay professor. He didn't care. The professor was the professor. And we have done that throughout schools, grammar schools, high schools, and colleges all over the country. And ain't nobody really paid too much attention to it. Okay. You know, now shout out to Afro Merchant. He said Obama was born into an upper middle class white home and inherited $500K. Now that makes sense to me. I do, you know what I'm saying? I can very easily believe that and never check in on something like that. I mean, at least that's the good thing he got out of it. But, you know, he did actually have to be raised by white people. He still had to be raised by white people. So, you know, I guess they got to give you something. If you a black man getting raised by white people, hey, you deserve to inherit $500K. You know, that's all I'm gonna say about that, man. If I'm me being a black man, if I was raised by white people, at least give me $500K. You know, I had to be raised by y'all. Now, if any white person is offended by me saying that, man, get over it. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Real talk, you'll be all right. But yeah, as a black man, if I was, if I had to be raised by white people, I think I deserve $500K. But going through that experience, whoo, you know. I didn't get my black dad. All I got was my white mom and her grandparent. Well, her mom and dad, which is my grandparent. Yeah, you probably should give me $500K. Real talk, okay? I had a black daddy, but you didn't make it happen, okay? And I mean, I ain't gonna really get into that, but I mean, let's keep it real. That is his mama's fault that he wasn't raised with his black dad. Just is what it is. They should have been in Kenya. He said his father went to Kenya. That's where he should have been. It is what it is, you know. But when he talked about, you know, boys dealing with certain things, and I understand Michelle was trying to direct the conversation to say, hey, y'all need to have quote unquote real life friends. Well, let me let y'all know something. The people on the internet are real life people, y'all. I don't know how people ain't figured this out yet, but people on the internet are real life people. A lot of folks on the internet show you give you the realest version of themselves. Okay, they give you the realest version of themselves because there's certain stuff they say online they ain't gonna say it nowhere else. You know, you get the realest version of people online. But let's think about this. Not that I believe it's really true on any large scale like that, but you know, she was talking about like men having friends and not having friends. Well, if you raised by your mama, are you gonna find it to be a tough time to make friends? I think probably maybe being raised by a mama makes that a little bit tougher. Maybe it does. You know, I ain't never think about it like that, but maybe that does make it a little bit tougher. Okay. Okay, so stop raising kids just with their mamas. That's the solution to that. Now, the thing is, she was talking about, men working and, well, she was talking about, men having these feelings and calling each other all the time. Yeah, men ain't finna be calling each other all the time to say every little thing that's going on with each other. Yeah, men have always made an effort to call friends. We just don't do it all the time because we ain't finna sit there and gossip all day. We not women at the end of the day, So, as Barack was saying what he was saying, it seemed to me that Michelle just kept trying to push stuff in, because I don't know if she was just trying to make a soundbite or it's just the fact that she just don't like the fact of black men being free. That's what I heard, y'all. I heard a black woman who didn't like the idea of black men being free. Okay, I'm gonna call my friend when I want to. Okay, she cracked that joke about he my best friend, but I ain't seen him in 3 years. Well, see, this is something that men normally have going on that maybe women don't understand, or I'm gonna say they don't want to understand. See, when men make friends, we actually like each other. Okay. We cool with each other. We like something about the other guy's character. We are into the same thing that the other guy does. Now, this could be very different for women because there's a lot of women who are quote unquote friends, but they don't like each other. See, we go out as friends as men, we try to help each other. The women, they trying to outdo each other. They like to steal each other's men or steal each other's opportunity to get a man. You know, they sleep with their friends a man like it's a cool thing to do. Okay. Amongst men, we know that's a no-no. You don't sleep with no guy chick who's amongst us like that. You don't do that. Okay. That's breaking the rules. Guys stick to the code. Okay. Now women don't seem to have those codes. So I get it. They see a man and the man get too close to the friends, he up for grabs. He may be in a relationship with one woman, but hey, they just consider him up for grabs. And they'll tell you, well, I wouldn't have got him if you wouldn't have been messing up whatever you was messing up. Obviously you wasn't doing something right, or he wouldn't have slept with me. Not that that's the case at all. Because there are plenty of men who will sleep with a woman just because the opportunity popped up. So, a man sleep with another woman is not saying his woman ain't sufficient. It's just an opportunity popped up a lot of the times. But they refuse to believe that because they don't want to think bad about themselves. Now, as Obama was talking, all right, well, you know what? Let's think about this, y'all. When Barack was in office, he did do the My Brother's Keeper thing, the attempt on the My Brother's Keeper. Now, he also did something for women. I guess I need to see, does anybody know? Because we know the My Brother's Keeper thing was not federally funded, but he also started that group for girls and women. Was that a federally funded group? Does anybody remember offhand? Was that federally funded? Whatever that organization was for girls and women? Because I'm gonna say he made some kind of attempt to look out for boys, but as he was talking, he was saying that if women don't have men around, you should take them to places where society can kind of help out. You take them to organizations. Now I get what he's saying. I was in the Boy Scouts myself, so I'm not even saying that that's problematic at the end of the day. But let's keep it real. What needed to be said is maybe some of y'all shouldn't be raising kids on your own. Barack wasn't trying to go there, though. Barack was not trying to go there. The issue is some of y'all just raising kids on your own, and you just shouldn't be. Which they said without trying to acknowledge. Michelle even said, well, they say we can't necessarily give enough to the boys as if they give enough to the girls. We can't necessarily give enough to the boys for them to develop into, the adults we need them to be. Paraphrase. Again, they don't do that for the girls either. But why are you looking to go to all these outside places instead of just having the children raised by their father? Because normally when kids grow up with a father, a lot of these issues don't really be that big a deal because fathers be handling stuff along the way. And we teach kids that there's consequences to life. You get out of pocket, stuff can happen. It is what it is. I don't see why that's so hard for anybody to understand. So if you don't understand it, to me, you're definitely avoiding it at the end of the day. And I get it. Because as I heard Michelle talking, not that I thought differently beforehand, because I done heard Michelle say enough things. As I heard her speaking, though, to me, it's just a great reminder. She just she don't like black men like that, because she said nothing to say anything about having a father in the home. That was not her concern at all. Okay. There was nothing, no conversation directly on on how we gonna get fathers in the home where women would just actually have to act right. So I just believe that wasn't what she wanted to say, and that's something she did not want to address. It's her podcast at the end of the day. If she wanted that to be addressed, she would have just addressed it. And that's how that works, y'all. If she really wanted that to be addressed, she would have just addressed it. You know, now I'm never gonna say it's something bad with having quote unquote real friends, as if people on the internet ain't real people. You know, I don't like the way people term that because it's dumb to me. You know, it's dumb. You're talking like the people on the internet ain't real people. And then again, the people on the internet, a lot of times that's the realest they gonna ever get with a person. Because they gonna say what they actually think, they're gonna say what they actually feel like, they're gonna say what their actual perspective is, they'll say what actual principles they live by. You know, I'm not under the impression that I'd never come past people in the KKK. I'm not under that impression. But they ain't outright telling me that. Now, when you get on the internet, then you can find that out a whole lot easier. You know, they quick to say something here or there about you on the internet to let you know what time it is. But in real life, you know, as they say, as if the internet ain't real life, you know, they hiding all that stuff. So it is what it is. So I think I get a much realer version of people on the internet than I get when they are out in the streets. You know, real talk. I get a much realer version of them, you know. But I do understand Michelle Obama's concern that if black boys are participating in this stuff where they quote unquote go off to get a sense of manhood from people on the internet, and she just didn't want to come out and say that that would only happen if the boy has a bad mother. Because let's keep it real, y'all. How do you end up in that situation? Number one, I don't have a dad around, which is whose fault? That's my mama's fault. Okay? It's my mother's job to prove she was worthy enough to be my dad's wife. That's my mother's job. Okay? When you understand the world, stuff makes sense. It's your mama's job to have her father think that she was good enough to be a wife. So any mother who didn't do that, you know, that's on her at the end of the day. Now, that ain't nobody else's fault. My mother, well, it didn't happen to me personally, but, you know, there's plenty of people it happens to, because there's a lot of folks who are born to single mothers. At the end of the day, it's your mama's job to have the father convinced that she's supposed to be his wife. If she didn't do that, that's on her, you know. I just assume she didn't try to. And I know that might you know, make people feel a certain way, because it's like, man, you kind of saying something about my mama now. Now, I'm not saying anything about your mother. Your mother spoke for herself based on her own actions. Okay, it's not me doing it. I'm just looking at actions your mother may have had. I didn't tell your mama what to do. Okay, your mama did what she wanted to do. Okay, shout out to Better You. He said, "Well, damn, I woke up to." I woke up to some real stuff. I'll say that. Wait, hold on. He said, no, excuse me, my bad. He said, well, damn, I woke up and put on a real shirt, real shorts, logged in on a real job, put on some real Jordan ones, but I'm not real. If you didn't see me in person, well, I guess that's what it's supposed to be. If they don't see you in person, brother, if they only see you on the internet, you're not real. Okay, them Jordans you wearing, that's a figment of your imagination. That's a figment of your imagination, you know. And if you are somehow able to influence anybody's children, especially their sons, you know, it's not about the fact that mama's a bad mother. It's about the fact that somehow, because they don't know you personally, you a bad man because you influence their children. You know, to me, this is just the crazy concepts people have, and they just put out there, and people act like ain't nothing wrong with it. How does your son get influenced by any group of people online, and you a good parent? You know, I'm not saying everything's just impossible, but that really shouldn't even come up. Okay. It's like the kids from Columbine. Now I know the people say, well, the kids from Columbine, they got these racist ideas. They was online looking at this stuff. You really think I'm dumb enough to believe the kids from Columbine? I'm talking about the ones who shot up the school. Y'all really think I'm dumb enough to believe this wasn't a reflection of their parents? Now, it's their parents' job. At the end of the day, it happened under their parents' watch. But everybody was cool with that part. Oh, it couldn't have been the parents. It had to be they listened to something extreme online. It had to be they just getting bad ideas from outside people. Who were the most influential people to some white kids growing up in the suburbs? And they live with their parents. Who was the biggest influence they gonna have? Their parents gonna be their biggest influence. So y'all can miss me with they found something online and became extreme. I doubt that. I seriously doubt. And this is the story people are telling, and this is why Michelle was trying to push that thing. Yeah, it ain't the fact that the women raising these sons on their own are bad mothers. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Their sons could just quote unquote find crazy people online, give them some crazy ideas, and your son is going to act on these crazy ideas, not because you're a bad parent. Okay. Not because you're a bad parent who have obviously no influence on your own child. It's because those guys online are extreme. And that's why I say, people got to learn to start listening to information regardless of the presentation. Her saying that to the average person, they just going to accept that. They ain't going to even question it. I don't understand how you have a bunch of boys online listen to grown men, like boys want to hear all this stuff from grown men, and somehow you just not a bad parent. I don't get it. I can understand maybe, there's an exception to the rule, as they say. I can get the exception to the rule here or there. But if you're a good mother, how does your child listen to extremists online? How does that even go together? All right. How does that even go together? And then you got to look at the people who are calling the other people extreme. And I do believe once you put a group of men together who ain't looking for women's permission, they're always going to be deemed extreme. Now, when you talk about black men doing it, it's going to be even worse. Because, clearly Michelle Obama has shown that she was married to the president of the United States, but she want men checking in. Just is what it is, man. She don't want you to grow up and get your own sense of manhood. She don't want you to grow up and actually start having your own ideas of what a man's supposed to be. And to me, y'all, the conversation was somewhat silly in ways. Because, even when she talked about President Obama taking the kids at night, she said that like that ain't a regular part of black life. What black men having kids with women live with the women and ain't helping with the women? Well, ain't helping with the children. That is absolutely normal. Do I remember my father helping us when we was kids? Absolutely. Did my father cook? Absolutely. He didn't cook like that. But yeah, it was times where he had to cook. Just is what it is. Now, I ain't never seen my mama get on the roof and fix nothing. I just didn't see that, y'all. My mama never got on the roof and fixed anything. I never witnessed that. I did witness my father cook. And I'm not saying that to diss my mama at all, because I don't expect my mama to have to get on no roof if she got a husband. You don't have to get on the roof as a woman when you got a husband. So she talked about, Barack was handling the kids at night. As if that's some special thing that ain't happening in black households all over America. That happens all the time. Matter of fact, it happens so much when people start paying attention to it, they determine that black fathers are the best fathers. It happens that much. Okay? And when they didn't even like the results, they did the study again, and it just came out again. Black fathers are the best fathers. Okay? And that's why, you're not going to really hear about that too much, because black people kept, black fathers kept coming at the top of being fathers. When it comes to helping around the house, nobody does that more than black fathers. When you look at fathers in general. Now, if you just say men, nobody helps around the house like black men help around the house. It just is what it is. The average black man ain't rich enough to have somebody else just do it for him. And black women don't like serving black men. So, all the things that they say they're worried about ain't never really existed in the black community, y'all. Let's keep it real. Has it ever really existed in the black community where black men could come home and oppress their wives? When did that ever happen? A lot of stuff just be fake news, as Donald Trump would say. Fake news, man. When did black men go to work? They make so much money that they can just come home and tell a woman what to do. And that's just it. And she got oppressed, yet she just sat there. Ain't never happened. Okay? It just ain't never happened. Now, shout out to Dominic D. Dominic D said, but the retort would be that black fathers aren't as good as mothers. Women still do more around the house. Now, I've heard plenty of women say that, but that ain't never been proved. Nobody can prove that. And it's just not real at the end of the day. Are there some special cases where you can see a black man who actually don't have to do much around the house? That's true. I'm not going to say it. That ain't true in no case. I'm actually related to people where the man can actually come home and chill, and he don't have to do all that housework. His wife does that. I'm related to folks like that. That don't mean I go out into the world and see them all over the place. I'm related to some women that would be upset with you doing too much work in the house, because they own some. That's my domain. Get your mitts off my stuff. Now, they still had children, and they raised they children to take care of the home. But the husband ain't really doing that. Okay? He does the stuff that you would consider man stuff. Just like I said, I ain't never seen my mama get on the roof to fix nothing. Have I seen my father get on the roof to fix something? Yeah. Okay. When we painted the house, was my mother involved with us? No. She wasn't there. We painted the house. I'm talking about my brothers, my dad. We painted the house. Okay. When we had if the sewer system was getting backed up or whatever, stuff, plumbing is clogged up, we fixed that stuff. Now, my father was doing most of it, but we fixed that stuff. Was my mother around? No. She don't have to. She a woman. Okay, it is what it is. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that she wasn't around. My mother didn't have to do that type of stuff because she was married to a man. Why would my mother do that stuff if she's married to a man? It just don't even make sense. So now the thing is, are boys being developed the proper way? Well, the ones with fathers, most of them seem to be developing just fine. But Michelle Obama wants to talk about these boys and their feelings as if something is going wrong with their feelings. They're not emotionally intelligent enough. How? As a boy, you got to grow up. The very things they said, they were taught as boys, you can't be whiny. Who respects a whiny man? Let's just keep that real. Because the women don't respect it. Now, we know amongst men, we ain't really looking for you to whine. We're not looking for that. As a man, you're not looking for other men to whine. Women say y'all not emotionally intelligent enough, so you need to whine more. Yet they don't respect you when you whine. So, President Obama, not that he said a bunch of perfect stuff, I just don't think he was being off or too extreme in either way. I sat there and, he asked a few questions to Michelle's brother. Shout out to Afro Merchant, because he was like, well, your dad was in the house, so how did you see it? Okay, because your dad was there. My dad wasn't. Now, I think one of the main issues is that when Barack Obama said, my dad wasn't there, we don't hear stuff like that and say, well, obviously that's the woman's fault. And even the white woman, when a white woman had a baby by a black man, she should have been where he was. He moved to Kenya. Why wasn't she there? It just shouldn't have had to happen. Okay. It just shouldn't have had to happen. But we don't look at these things and understand it when we hear it, that okay, what's up with moms, man? Why she ain't with your dad? Now me, that's a question I'm always come to when people start talking about, I was by myself and I had to do X, Y, and Z by myself. I ain't never seen a woman that had to do none of this stuff by themselves unless they was a widow. When a widow argues, I had to do it by myself, I'm gonna give her a little bit of room. Okay. But if she has a decent family, that ain't even true. She don't have to do everything by herself. She just call the other men and they come in because men naturally protect widows. Okay, I've been seeing that my whole life. Okay, I didn't see them be protected even before the man died. Because I grew up on the block and it was old people on the block too. I seen certain folks getting their grass cut, wasn't even asking nobody to cut their grass. The men would just come over there and cut the grass. And when the man died and his wife was still there, they still cut the grass. She'll say something about money, they just gonna say, don't worry about it. Because they had a lot of respect for the man that died. Now if we want to talk about men cutting grass, or we want to talk about boys expressing deep emotional trauma or something like that. And the thing is this, y'all, the boys don't be traumatized. Women think just because they're traumatized that the boy has to be traumatized. Well, I was a girl and this traumatized me. That don't mean it traumatized me though, because I don't live in your world. I got to make stuff happen regardless of scenarios. And that's just something women ain't really getting because they don't want to get it. I'm telling you, don't let them off the hook saying they don't understand. They don't get it because they don't want to get it. Okay, because in real life, as men, we got to make stuff happen regardless of what's going on in the scenarios around us. It just is what it is. Did Barack say enough? Nah, to me, no. But I look at where he was. He's on Michelle's podcast. What is he really going to say? And then I understand there's a certain dynamic that goes on with certain men. You're just not going to say a lot of real stuff around your wife sometime. Maybe in another room, but she right there. And it's her podcast. If he gave too much truth, it would seem hostile. And they already dealing with the quote unquote divorce rumors, which they actually acknowledged. Okay. It would seem too hostile for Barack Obama to go on that show and just really start throwing down the truth like that. It would definitely seem hostile. Shout out to Mr. Suge to you. He says, I got to get Roger to know me a little better in hopes of him speaking at my eulogy. Okay. And to tell folks the truth they don't want to hear. Hey, Mr. Suge, you, hey, we'll work that out. I don't mind. I definitely don't mind. I give you a heck of a send-off too. Real talk. I give you a heck of a send-off. And you done gave me permission to be as real as I want to be. So that's how I'm taking that. Especially with the emoji with the sunglasses. You done gave me permission to be as real as I want to be. And shout out to Afro Merch. He say, I'll be quiet, but when she leaves, I'll be talking again. And I'm saying, I do understand that, because at the end of the day, y'all, Michelle is his wife. What he gonna really give you on her podcast? Now, them talking at home could be a little bit different. Not saying they in the public viewpoint, but they just talking at home. Possibly things could go a little different, you know. Now, for a lot of us, I'm just gonna say it was a stretch just to hear him say his mom let him go out the country on his own at 8 years old. Now, my thing is this: you do what you got to do. I do understand you got to do what you got to do, depending on how things happen. But going out the country is that's a little different. Okay, that's a little different. But I guess if you got some relatives waiting there when he lands, I guess it'll be all right, even though he only 8. But 8 just sound young. Now, if there's a real reason this needs to be done, see, I can accept that. I can accept that, if there's a real reason, well, this just got to get done. Okay, cool. Now, was there a real reason? I don't know, because he didn't tell us what the reason was. And I'm going to just say, shout out to this brother, just because of his name. He said, now, first of all, he gave some good advice. So let's listen to his advice, y'all. If you ain't already done it, hit the like button, y'all. Real talk. Hit the like button. Real talk. But when you come into the room with a name like this, I got to say something to you. Shout out to all my hoes demonetized. I'm going to say that one again, y'all. Shout out to all my hoes demonetized. That's just hilarious. Okay, real talk. That's just hilarious. Real talk. Now I'm gonna say this, y'all. What is so wrong with being able to develop friends in their quote unquote real life? And let's say even the young ones, the boys to early adults, they're also making friends with people who are quote unquote not in their real life. Even though I don't understand why people ain't real. Why is that a problem, y'all? Why is that a problem? Okay. Because I'm just thinking, a young man with an ability to develop friendship, even if he hasn't met the person, maybe it is a online friendship, I don't see how that's a problem. Real talk, y'all. I don't see how that's a problem. And she the way she said it was like it was a problem. And I actually give Barack some credit for not trying to go extreme with her. He was just saying, well, yeah, it's good to, have some friends that you can call up and kick it with sometime. And, me and my friends now, we have this thing that we do basically once a year. We get together and we do these things. We bowl or, get into some competitions, whatever. Ain't nothing wrong with that at the end of the day. But why wouldn't a man, especially a young man, not be able why would a young man be able to develop friendships where he's not online, but not have the ability to develop friendships when he is online? Like, some of the thoughts people put out there just be kind of silly to me. I just don't even get where you're coming from. If I can make friends in my actual everyday real life, what would make you think I couldn't make friends in a virtual space? If I'm likable to people in a virtual space or people sitting in the same room as me. That's normal. And shout out to all my hoes demonetized again. He say, Raj, it's for legal purposes. Oh, well, since it's for legal purposes, I gotta support that. Since it's for legal purposes, man. Y'all, if monetizing your hoes creates legal problems, y'all should take this. Y'all should get out that game. Real talk, okay? If monetizing your hoes causes problems, it's just easy to demonetize those hoes. Real talk, y'all. Real talk. No. Now, now shout out to Maggie Thompson on the Ville. Now she said Preto Fred in his mom's basement. Yeah, Roger. It said we can be friends. Okay, now let's keep this real, y'all. Let's keep this real. Because Maggie makes a good point. Maggie makes a good point. You know, what if he run into the pedos out there? Okay, what if he run into the pedos? Well, okay, this is I'm gonna say somewhat a little easier managed for black kids. White kids is gonna be a little tougher for. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. They white, they'll be fine. Okay, for black kids, let's just keep it real. We don't want to talk to old white men anyway. Okay, when we young kids, if we talking to old white men, okay, and remember, y'all, kids' thought process of old white people, well, just an old person in general, is different than ours. Because, you know, as kids, we think you're old when you're 30, 35, okay? So they got a different perspective. So the good news is, black children, I'm going to say this, black children, especially boys, we're not looking to talk to a bunch of old white men. That's just not what we own at the end of the day. If we talking to an old white man, that should be like the football coach, maybe the basketball coach, maybe a teacher, you know, maybe the principal, something like that. You know, we're not really looking to talk to older men like that. So I'm gonna say that is kind of a greater concern for white folks, you know, because real talk, young black boys ain't really looking to talk to old white men. You know, we kids at the time, we gonna see them as old white men. What the heck do we got to be talking to an old white man for if this ain't about football practice or something? We just ain't on that. Okay. Okay. Y'all shout out to all my hoes he monetized, y'all. I gotta cut in and say this one. He say, Raj, if you monetize them, the law is subjective enough to get you a RICO. I'm just saying. You kind of make a point right there, brother. You kind of make a point. And the last thing a brother need is to have a RICO by himself, y'all. Real talk, y'all. That's the last thing a brother need. And when you facing RICO charges by yourself, yeah, it's rough out there for a brother. It's rough out there for a brother. But yeah, but back to it though. As young men, we're boys, you know, we ain't trying to talk to old white men like that. If this ain't the football coach, I don't know why we have this conversation. When it comes to the teachers, most of us don't want to talk to them when school ain't in no way. Hey, man. Hey, Mr. Benton, it's 5 o'clock. I don't want to talk to you. That's a natural thing with young black men. I say that, y'all. It's a natural thing. Okay, I'm not saying in certain circumstances we won't talk to a teacher, you know, after the school situation is over. Maybe we're in an after-school program or something like that. But I think for most black boys, hey, Mr. Benton, it's 5 o'clock. I don't want to talk to you, man. You can catch me at school tomorrow. Okay, we ain't gonna say it in those words, but you can catch me at school tomorrow. I want to talk to you right now. It's 5 o'clock, man. School been out since 3:30. I ain't trying to talk to you right now. Okay. Shout out to Mr. Shook to you. He said, hold on now, Roger. Even as a team, my best friends and advisors have been aged between 30 and 75 years old. Now, I'm not gonna say that, you know, we ain't gonna talk to some folks because we in some type of program or something like that. But if you ain't in no program or nothing, why were you trying to talk to middle age or close to middle age white guys. We ain't on that. And the reason I say white guys, because when it comes to let's just be realistic, y'all. When it comes to pedophiles, that's pretty much the color we gonna come to. Okay, I'm not saying no other group of men can't do it, but I mean, if you avoid, and I know this may be bad to hear for some folks, but I'm just gonna keep it real. If you avoid hanging out with white men, more than likely you won't have to worry about a pedophile situation. Okay, if you're a young boy and you avoid hanging out with white men, you will probably not have to deal with a pedophile situation. I'm not saying that's a perfect solution. I ain't saying that. Okay, it ain't a perfect solution, but it may not come up too often. Real talk, and I'm just keeping it real there. Now, I do think the concern that was going on in this particular conversation, it's just men being free to talk amongst themselves, come up with their own ideas, even though they did mention manosphere. I think they just believe that from a general standpoint. If men don't have to check in with women, what they gonna think about? What they gonna do? How are they gonna act? As if organizations were making men act bad in the past. Let's keep it real. They talk about men had these certain ideas in the past. What men had certain ideas in the past? Who thought it was in the past, y'all? It's just cool to beat up on your woman for no reason. Who thought that? It wasn't black men. Okay, black men didn't come home and say the chicken cold and go upside your head. That wasn't happening with us. Okay, that wasn't happening with us. Now, the way they push it on white men, it does sound a little exaggerated. I will say that too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't finna sit here and defend a bunch of white men, but I am gonna say some of the stuff does even sound exaggerated, even when I look at it from a white male perspective. And don't get it twisted, y'all. I know a white man, and he'll take his wife out back and she'll just be gone. He'll just take care of her altogether. I know they do that type of stuff, but I'm gonna say even as they report it sometimes, the way they report the stuff, the way it supposedly was happening, it sounds like a little much sometimes, even in those situations. And I'm just keeping it real. But I know for sure that was not part of black culture. Black men did not come home from work and beat up on their women and act like everything was just cool. Our society wouldn't even let us do that if we wanted to. So it just ain't never really been the case. So when I hear, a black woman saying, these boys gonna get this crazy ideal of manhood, I be wondering like where, from where? Because I guarantee you his daddy wasn't beating up his mama. I can guarantee you his granddaddy wasn't beating up his grandma. I'm not saying in rare cases that didn't happen, but the vast majority of black boys ain't never seen no black man even slap a black woman, let alone fight her regularly. All right. A lot of black men would just about have a heart attack if you slapped the woman in front of him. He gonna be shot even to this day. Okay, even to this day. And truth be told, even to this day, if the woman hits you, the black men gonna accept it and let her get away with it. And if you even think about hitting the back, they gonna come grab you up. They may not beat you down, but they gonna come grab you up. And truth be told, it's a lot of brothers that's gonna start fighting you immediately just because you seem like you was gonna fight. So I don't know what they talking about with these. What ideas are they worried about people getting? Okay, what are these ideas? Okay. I was never told about this history, especially when it comes to brothers that they just had women in check like that. I don't remember that from history. I didn't hear about it in history class. You talk about people in history. Well, things like this didn't seem to come up about no brothers. It was never mentioned. Real talk, it just wasn't ever mentioned. Now, y'all, we got a guest coming up. I'm gonna let him get the mic. You unlucky bastard. You have the floor.
Thank you, Roger. There's a couple things I would like to address. But first, I want to make a public apology to Michelle Obama. I realize why you do what you do. Because after the insanity that Obama just said, it has said, I totally understand why God put that woman in your life. So there's a quote out of the Bible, right? Wicked women belong to wicked men. And I come to, where's Roger? I have come to the conclusion that this man on your screen right now is a wicked man. The way that he continuously demoralize, downtrodden, degrade black boys is it's diabolical. It's diabolical. So that's why I gotta apologize to Michelle. God put Michelle in Obama's life to chastise that nigga for all the diabolical stuff that he has done. So, Michelle Obama, with my deepest sincerity, I apologize. Please keep your foot on that nigga's neck. Number 2. Please keep your foot on that nigga's neck. Well, just feedback, Roger.
Oh, my bad.
Number 2. Whoever marries their daughters, that is one. Those two are the most unluckiest bastards that the world has ever known. Look, may God have mercy on their souls, because whoever married their daughters with Tracy Ellis as their marriage mentoree, oh Lord, have mercy. Woo! You better get on your knees, niggas, and say, God, what in the hell have I done for you to forsake me? Because whoever marries those two daddy little princesses, God has forsaken them and the generations after them. And I'll leave it there for now.
You wow, but I'm gonna say I don't think Obama's going extreme on this. I think Obama's trying to play it down the middle a little bit in this particular interview.
Nah, man. Nah. Michelle, I'm sorry. That's all I gotta say. I'm sorry, Michelle.
Now, Michelle was on what she was on, but I think President Obama was trying to use his words to stay down the middle to a certain degree. Michelle was definitely trying to push him in certain directions the way I saw it, but I don't think he was really going to it like that. I think he was just trying to come off as middle of the road or something. Yeah.
Well, Michelle, when he touched that thermostat, go oops upside his head. That's all I know.
All right. Well, we got Kevin 3905 has joined us, so I'm gonna go ahead and give him the mic. You got it, my brother.
What's up, fellas? What's up? I believe that this is a pump fake. I believe you got to remember this is the Democratic Party, and they stand for what they stand for. I think this is Barack Obama lending support to her, even in her messiness or appeared to be messiness. She is trying to launch her career after being the first lady, and she is pandering to these women by hating Barack Obama publicly. I do not believe that this is a real thing. I don't believe this is how she really feels. I think that she is well aware of how everybody's getting paid. She want to get paid. She want to make her own money. She want to be a progressive woman. And I think she is telling these black women what they want to hear. And I think some of us as men are falling for it, thinking that this is a real thing. I don't think it's real. I don't.
Okay, definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Well, now that I got a couple guests up here, y'all, I want to give some shout outs to some of the cash apps that done came through. So I got to give the first one out to my main man, Mr. Suge. To you, he comes through with the cash app $5. Said down payment for eulogy fund. Hey, brother, once again, I'm gonna send you off right. You let me do the eulogy, you gonna sound like the greatest ever. Real talk. And they gonna get some real. They gonna get some real. And shout out to Kevin 3905, and thank you, brother, because you're on the panel. He says, line on these black line on these blacks, what is this?
Queens.
Line on these black quangs for a living. And shout out to Sarah. Sarah says that's Sarah B, y'all. She says throwing in. Thank you for the link. Thank you for the link, Chief. Hey, appreciate it, brother. I mean, appreciate the sister. Appreciate the sister. She's a sister from another mother, but hey, she rocking with us at the end of the day, and I definitely appreciate it, Sarah. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, now that's an interesting thing to say. I don't think that is real, but I mean, you know, and I'm gonna say this. Shout out to Black Uru Strike. He says the first is into white. Now he's talking about the daughters. The first is into white dudes. Whoever she marries will be fine, but the younger one likes brothers. So her husband is is in for a world of pain.
Man.
uh,
How are you? Like whoever they marry, man, unlucky. They're gonna be unlucky bastards.
I don't think they either one of them going. What I've been thinking is I don't think either one of them going to end up married to a brother, and that's just real talk. I thought that when he was in office that ain't going to even be allowed. So I don't. I mean, heck, I could be wrong, but I doubt it. And shout out to Sirius Rod. He says Maggie, Michelle Michelle too petty for a presidential run. I personally don't think she wants to be involved and be and I don't think she wants to do it. Real talk. I don't think she wants to do it. You know, that's just the way I consider it, y'all. I don't think she ever gonna really do that. I think she's just I don't think she like black men at all. And she may have maybe she got a issue with men in general, but you know, this being a conversation that was kind of centered amongst black people, the way she kept trying to push Barack to kind of go in certain places, I think I think this is just a her not liking black men, which is consistent with other things she's done over the years that people have talked about in little clips and stuff. So my thing is this whole conversation just lends to the fact that she don't really mess with us like that. She don't like us. She don't think we too much of anything. And she don't really rock with us, which is not surprising to me at all at this point because I heard too much from her. But Champ Car for Life is joining us as well, so let me have Champ Car get the flow. You got it, my brother.
Hey, happy Friday, y'all brothers. Um, I think there was a talk that that Sasha had some type of fling with the guy who was playing the movie F1, that black guy, Damon Idris or something like that. That's what I was hearing early this year. I don't know what happened to it, but who knows?
I wouldn't buy into it, y'all. Y'all got to keep in mind we still talking about a president's daughter. She just
but she might go with a non-FBA black person. But anyway, I'm gonna say this. This is what black women want to hear. They for years wanted to hear Michelle Obama talk something bad about Barack Obama and everything else, and because to them, they felt that Barack didn't do enough for them. And what's ironic is that I hear a lot of black women in some of these salons and some of these YouTube channels and TikTok. They sit up there praising Joe Biden more than Barack Obama and everything. And they're loving what they're hearing from Michelle Obama a lot. They say, "You go, girl. this is how we feel and everything else. And you know, I think this is going to help Michelle Obama more. You know, potentially, you know, having a talk radio, having a podcast and everything else. I don't know if it's going to launch her political career. There's some people talking about the possibility of her possibly running for mayor of Chicago, or some, or possibly, you know, Congress or something and everything else. So this is really a platform that um, that is catered to black women suffering, their rage, their anger, but you know, it's directly towards black men. That's what's going on right now, and she's kind of pushing that and everything is by saying some of these subtle stuff about, you know, her man Barack Obama, which I gotta say, you know, Barack Obama. I notice a lot of these black politicians in Washington D.C. are trying to distance themselves away from him and everything else, which is really a shame. But you know, I'll land my plane there.
Well, I'm gonna say, shout out to Black Rule Strikes again. He says her running for office would expose her too much, would expose her to too much accountability for her views. She doesn't have the stamina, temperament, and courage for that. And I can agree with that wholeheartedly at the end of the day. Plus, y'all, again, I don't even think she wants it, because people done threw her name out there plenty of times. She never reacted as if she really wants to hold that office at all. And I'm gonna say shout out to them for not moving back to Chicago, and that's only because I ain't got to worry about her being the mayor, because she don't even live here. So, and I know they don't live here because, you know, the Secret Service ain't around their house no more. You know, so I know they
Yeah,
gone. You know, so we ain't got to worry about her being the mayor of Chicago. I don't
yeah.
think she wants to be in the political light at all. You know,
Well,
when
I mean,
with no more than what she already is.
there are a lot of black women, you know, who are wanting her to run for political office. They really do.
No, I
But
mean that's true, but I'm saying everywhere she's never reacted as if she wanted to do that, because
yeah,
her name
true.
then came up plenty of times in the past.
Yeah, it's come up so many times from celebrities, you know, told her to run for president. They were trying to get her to run for president last year. Made
I
no
don't think it's
sense.
nothing we got to worry about. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think it's ever coming up.
Yeah,
Uh, I think she's trying to do her damage right where she at, in a nice podcast where she's comfortable. You know, she can do it. I mean, I'm sure they're doing this from home. You know what I'm saying? I think this is where she wants to do her damage. And I think she's a woman who wants to make a name for herself, and she wants to be bigger than her husband. So I think she's wasting her time, because I do believe she wants to be bigger than her husband. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna die and still be bigger than her. So, you know, I think she's kind of wasting her time on that note, but you know, she putting her message out there. And my thing is, the only message I really got from this is Michelle don't like men making decisions without getting permission from women. That's what I got from it. Because why you worry about men talking? Because when it comes down to it, y'all, people who say they're against, even though they mention manosphere, that's just some people say out there to say groups of men talking. Why is she worried about groups of men talking to each other?
I,
Why does that
I have
bother her at all?
I have a thought on that. I have a thought. I think that the manosphere, the black manosphere in particular, is decentralized. Like there's no one attack surface. Like I think when Kevin Samuels died, the quote unquote they thought the black manosphere was going to die when Obsidian was kicked.
Is that me or he boring?
I think it's
Off of
him.
YouTube, they thought the black manosphere was going to die. This is continuously growing, and I think they're looking for there's something, some entity
Well, I can make out what you were saying, Kevin, but you kind of gone now. You kind of gone.
Here's what he was saying. And he said that they think
They
that
can
they
kill
thought
it
that the
all
black
at once. Yeah,
okay.
I might be.
Well,
Is it
I
me?
mean, yeah, we used
Mic
Borgen for a
check.
second, but yeah, you were Borgen, but we did get the message that
Hello.
yeah, can you hear me?
Mic
Okay, yeah, he
check.
definitely has. Yeah, I hear you. I don't know if you hear me though.
We lost him, I think.
Yeah, he
Mic.
gone, y'all. He gone.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. They can listen. Hello. God dang it.
Yeah,
I'll go
we
out
hear
and come
you.
back in.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
you can
there
hear
you
me
go.
now?
We hear you right now. I'm
Yeah, we
not
can hear
saying
you
it's a
now.
bad idea for you to go out and come in. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. I'll go out and come back in.
Okay. I get what he was saying. He said that once the Black Manosphere, once Kevin Samuels passed away, they thought that the Black Manosphere was dead and everything, and that Michelle Obama can go ahead and start her thing and start the pink pill and everything else and get this whole thing started.
Well,
That's
I
what I'm
mean,
thinking. That's what I was thinking he was trying to say.
I thought he was saying that they thought the black manship was gonna go away because Kevin Samuels died,
Yeah.
and which of course ain't gonna happen because it wasn't
Oh,
like Kevin Samuels started it or anything like that. So obviously, to anybody with just a small level of intelligence should have known that wasn't gonna have nothing to do with anything. But I do understand that there are people who believe he started just because he was big with subscribers numbers. So there are people out there who do believe that Kevin started it because he had the most
yeah.
subscribers. So,
Right.
but I don't think generally they care about that. I think it's just an issue that especially black men are talking and they're not checking in with women to understand what they supposed to be allowed to talk about. I think that's really what the issue is because again, it's just men talking at the end of the day. And if even if you thought it was true that boys were listening to this, you know, and I'm not saying ain't no boy listening to this at all. I'm pretty sure there's a boy there somewhere who's listening to this. I just don't think it's in big numbers. But if you thought boys were listening to men, why are you afraid of they listening if the issue isn't the fact that the men ain't checking in with the women to get permission on what to talk about?
Right.
You know, because they pushing stuff just like they mentioned this emotional intelligence. And what does emotional intelligence mean? Now, how do they use that word? It means it really means, did you bow down to what women want?
Right.
You know,
Exactly. That's
so
what it's about.
so the last thing they want to hear is a man like myself who's saying, I ain't even worried about what women talking about because they not finna fight for nothing. They ain't finna help me with get something done. If our stuff is under attack, they're not gonna protect it because that's a normal thing amongst women. A woman may protect a child, but there's very little she's gonna protect in life outside of that. Even if you look at the women who will protect their children, usually a woman's not gonna protect too much of anything.
That's
You know,
right. I agree.
and my thing is that's not a horrible thing. Of course the man should be the protector if something's going on. So why would I even expect for a woman to protect a bunch of stuff? It don't even make sense when you think about it. But they push that stuff. But all I'm saying is a person who's not going to protect anything, you know, I understand why they want people to check in with them because they're not going to do the work. They're not going to do the hard part anyway. So I need you to check in with me so you won't do anything that I'm not comfortable with, because that's where my control will come in. You know, so that's how I just see it. But I got my main man Gold P who done slipped up here, so let's let Gold P get the flow. You got it, my brother.
Hey, what's happening? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I call a bit of this Mr. Obama and his um, stream. Hey man. Once again, this is. I mean, I can dig the. It's a conversation to a degree, but they all these high level people, celebrities, whatever you want to call them, they be on something different anyway. I don't think they can even really relate to us, man. You know, the normal people, let's say. I don't even think they can relate. They have some examples that we see that we talk about all the time? Yes. Do they display them on a regular basis? Yes. But I think they aren't able to relate to us in no way, really. As far as the daughters, I'm with you on that, Roger. I think they're going to be Serena and Venus. I think just my bit, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm just gonna say there's certain political things that do actually happen, and seeing that Barack Obama is considered the first black president of the United States, there's nowhere in the world that he could have a son that would carry on his name, and nowhere in the world that his daughters are gonna get married to somebody that's not white. I just don't see that happen. You know, I just think, you know, regardless of what the girl's interest is, folks just ain't gonna let that happen. That's what I personally believe. That it's not gonna look right from a power structure dynamic, you know. And there are people who keep interest, and America is not black first. Just is what it is, and they're not gonna show any shift that is going to be black first. So there's nowhere in the world the man considered to be the first black president, number one, could have a son to carry on his name, and number two, could have his daughters marry a black man. That's just not in the cards. I really just don't believe that at all, because that's politics at the end of the day. Okay,
Yeah,
just plain old
I agree with
politics.
you. I agree with you on that. You know, I just think that uh, because of what circles they're in. Um, Now, I would say that I think the daughters are going to make decisions that, I mean, we've seen this already, that they're out there doing stuff that isn't as welcoming as uh, Mr. Obama would like to see, in my humble opinion. And I think they're going to fall under Ms. Obama's direction. They're going to try to be, as you said, Roger, greater than Mr. Obama. I mean, and
Yeah,
it's a challenge because for Mr. Obama, because it's not only him in that position. It's the extended arms that are pulling levers to push their minds and their body language and energies towards that I don't like black men type direction. That's just my view about it, and from what I've observed, it seems to be true.
well, I ain't necessarily seen nothing to say they don't like black men, but I ain't seen a whole lot of that from them just in general. What I'm saying is, y'all, when he first got elected, I already figured out that, you know, he didn't have a son to carry on his name. It's only girls. They ain't marrying no black man. That's because the power structure of America won't allow that. I'm not saying it has anything to do with Barack Obama's relationship with his daughter. I'm not saying it's going to even have anything to do with their particular choice. I just don't believe the power structure is just going to let that happen. You know,
Well,
so I
Roger, I
don't.
say it's a
What
combination of.
what
It's a combination of.
hold fast, because Rael
Yes,
done
sir.
came
Go
up. I
ahead.
want to let him get in. Rael,
Yes,
you
sir.
got the
Go
floor,
ahead.
my brother.
What's happening, Rob? What's happening, Rob?
Peace, God, man. Peace of the panel,
Peace,
peace of the
peace,
chat.
peace.
I'm glad that you brought this up, man. This is something that I've been really doing my research on this, and I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers when I say some of the stuff I'm about to say, but I don't care. Number one, Obama is the personification of the socially, politically, spiritually re-engineered so-called black men in the United States. He is the personification of that to the T. Go along to get along. when he gets pushed back from women, he gets shook and he falls back and he doesn't defend masculinity. We saw that with the boys initiative, my brother's keeper initiative. He was the one that introduced all of this, the threat of pulling federal funding from colleges and universities, especially supposed to be his bona fides to be a constitutional lawyer, implemented policies and threatened to cut the funding from these colleges and universities if they didn't implement his policies on allegations of sexual assault that ruined a lot of young men's lives during his tenure and after, and really gave a lot of weight and brevity to things like Me Too. And he did a lot of damage in terms of undermining masculinity. He also, him and Biden, gave a eulogy for Robert Byrd, a Klansman who was a U.S. Senator, which I saw as one of the most disrespectful things that anybody could have actually done from his position. Because as far as I'm concerned, once a Klansman, always a Klansman. So when you eulogize him and you do it in a way on some like healing the nation and bringing us together, I'm not trying to hear that crap. I'm just not. I don't care. Especially when this guy was, he was in Congress, he was in the Senate, and I think until Cory Booker was actually had held the record for the longest filibuster because he was the one that actually filibustered the implementation or the passing of civil rights, which is supposed to be something that these people claim is supposed to be so great. Well, if civil rights was supposed to be so great for Black people, then why did Democrats fight against it and filibuster it? Because it was the Republican Party that actually passed it. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. He got embarrassed by his wife during Jimmy Carter's funeral, left out there on an island by himself, made to look like a buffoon. He literally is the quintessential representation of the modern Black male who is raised in this type of environment by females like the person he married. So when you look at it from all these different angles, this dude is I can't say he's a sellout because in the course of human history, from his mulatto position, he's doing exactly what has always been done from that particular position. There has been a political philosophy behind using mulattoes, quote unquote, Black, that Black people never sat back and agreed that mulattoes were Black. That was something that was forced upon Black people by people who had the power to, according to the one drop rule. So it was something that we never actually agreed upon. And when you look at the history of a lot of these people, what you find is that they're connected to families whose number one goal is to trot them out there as if they're for Black people. But in reality, they are there to do the bidding of their family's interests. And so Black people, we get so caught up in wanting to see a Black person be in charge or in a position, not really understanding this person, man, was groomed to be in that position to play against your sentiments because you want to see you up there, but you ain't really seeing you. This dude has never been for Black people. He has never been for Black people. I mean, he has proven it. He has proven it to the point that when they were talking about building his library in Chicago, Black people in Chicago was complaining because he didn't even want to hire Black people in Chicago to help with the library. Like a lot of Black people was complaining about that. So I mean, the list just goes on and on. As far as I'm concerned, man, he's been a plant from day one. I got caught slipping the first time I voted for him. I didn't vote for him the second time, and I have not been on his side at all. I think that he has made a mockery of Black masculinity. and he is that beta male that uses females to fight his battles for him. And I don't respect those types of dudes. I think it's weak, and this is something that is common from the social positioning in terms from a political standpoint. A lot of these dudes have used females. Matter of fact, I would go so far as to say that feminism was actually utilized by a lot of men politically in this country to actually stifle the actual true men who actually should be leading this country, because they can't actually fight those men on their own accord. They got to use females to do it.
All right. Now, with all that being said, then you can definitely listen to that and kind of have an idea of why he really didn't push back on anything Michelle Obama said throughout this whole conversation, which I just didn't expect that. And then, like I said, y'all, it's a man in front of his wife. A lot of guys, even if a guy would say things that need to get said, they ain't gonna say it in front of their wife. Just is what it is, you know. I give him credit for not going in a worse direction, because Michelle was definitely trying to steer him a certain direction that he didn't necessarily go full blown into. You know, but when you talk about manhood and masculinity, he didn't mention, well, maybe the women should just be raising the children with the fathers. He never said that one time. He gave a very female answer about, they should go out into the community and have the community try to do this and do that, or whatever the case is. If y'all ain't figured it out yet, saying the community means I don't want no husband, and I want a bunch of guys that I don't have to answer to do stuff for me. And real talk, that's not your community unless you are a dysfunctional, anti-family, single mother person. That's not your community. If you're a respectable, productive black man, and also functional, and you believe in black men's leadership, then them people don't belong to us. Those are wayward people, for the most part. Because truth be told, now y'all keep in mind, I done been in Boy Scouts, so I done seen how folks had issues with me and trying to train young men to actually be men. Because guess who gonna come up there and complain? They mamas. See, when you start teaching boys how to be men for real, a lot of times black women gonna complain about it, and they don't want that stuff to go down. And that's why I say, based on what I'm hearing in this conversation, this is really just about men doing things on their own, and they're not checking in with women, and this is bothersome. To me, Michelle made it clear she was bothered by this idea that men can actually end up, what she was saying, boys, but boys could actually end up listening to men online, and those men could have influence on the children. And my thing is, if that's happening, you're not a good mother. If your son got his sense of self from some random dude off the computer, you a bad mother at the end of the day. That's all they tell me. Because that should come from his father. So obviously you got such a bad relationship going on where you don't want that child's father in his life that he would actually get a sense of self from somebody else. I don't see that as no good thing. Now, a boy can reject his dad, but a boy should actually grow up and then say, I actually got a different set of morals or something like that, and I'm going to reject the picture of who my dad is. But when a random dude on the internet can give your son a sense of self, yeah, you just a bad mama at that point. But Obama wouldn't say nothing like that. He stayed away from all that type of stuff.
Well, if you go to like R. Kelly, like years ago before he got locked up, one of the things that stood out to me was when he was being interviewed by, I think, a woman, and he talked about how when his mom used to drink her coffee, her lipstick imprint would be on the cup, and when he would when she would drink something, like I think it was coffee, but maybe other stuff too, like when he would want to drink behind her, he would turn the cup around to where the side where the lipstick imprint was and drink from that particular position. So, like, clearly now we know the issue that we've seen this particular guy had, so we don't need to hash that out. But the point that I'm saying is that, you know, we have a actual group of females that are okay with their sons being bitch made. They're okay with their sons putting fingernail polish on their fingers. And so these are the type of people, like when I see these people, like I don't fall for the rules like, oh, well, they're black. Like, I don't go for that. Like, that's childish. Is what they're promoting fortifying what I represent as a man, or is it attempting to deconstruct what I represent as a man? And if it's trying to deconstruct what I represent as a man, you know, based on growing up with my father, growing up around my great grandfather and other strong men in my family, if it doesn't line up with what they were on, I don't give a damn if he was considered the first black president. It has no merit on what I view life to be about. I have no desire to align with it. I'm not supporting it. I'm not voting for it. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we got caught up when we was younger. You know what I'm saying? Being in college, that we was. Matter of fact, one of the main reasons why I voted for Barack was not just based on policy, was because of the family issue. That was the primary reason why I voted for him. The aesthetic of a black family was the main reason. I thought it was so important for us to see that as a group, from a collective standpoint. That was the main reason that I voted for him. And to see this so-called family, because a lot of times, man, we look at our situations or we look at our families and we be thinking like, man, our families ain't this and ain't that. And a lot of times, man, our families just need a little something just to turn us in the full proper direction. Like, everything else is okay. You know what I'm saying? I've heard Roger talk a lot about, you know, his family and how close, you know, a lot of his family, you know, is to him. And that's how, you know, a lot of our families, you know, used to be. And, you know, we got co-opted into following these types of people who wanted to socially re-engineer black people to keep black people in a permanent underclass position. Let's be clear. I would take the generation of black people who didn't have college degrees, who had second and third grade educations, but they were strong foundationally in terms of family orientation, marriage. I will take that any day off of any of these clowns with masters and PhDs, because it don't work. It does not work. It has not worked for the last 100+ years. It has placed black people in a very compromised position. And they're really upset that a lot of black people are starting to wake up, because the more black people wake up, the less of a position that they're going to have. And that's just the reality of what it is. So this is an existential discussion. When they talking about the manosphere, it's existentialism at play. That's what they're really saying. If more of them wake up, the less of a stronghold or stranglehold we're going to be able to have on power. And they want the power specifically to bitch black men specifically out. They don't have a problem. The fact that these types of people don't have a problem putting a Meg Thee Stallion out there twerking when somebody is launching a presidential campaign, the fact that they don't care about that shows that they have no respect for black people. And at the end of the day, if that's how you're going to come at us, think about, because I ain't even never been to a strip club. Not one time. I'm 46. I've never been to a strip club. If that's how you're going to approach me, man, that's an insult to my intelligence if you bring that shit to me. Plain and simple. And so, especially if you want to come out here talking about, oh, men are objectifying women. Well, if the women weren't allowing themselves to be objectified, we couldn't do it.
Yeah, and my thing is, I don't even buy into the fact that they say, you know, they do say that stuff about men objectify women. No, women objectify themselves. This is a free country over here. This ain't no place where the men are directing what women have to do. Okay, they objectify themselves. They came out with a miniskirt on. They came out with a sports bra on. Didn't put nothing on top of it. They came out with a see-through shirt on. I didn't objectify no woman in a see-through shirt. How can I objectify a woman who literally came out in a see-through shirt? You know, and that is a major thing going on with a lot of black women. I have noticed black women's culture is, how can I be the most naked without somebody bothering me about it? That's pretty much what they do from a clothing situation. How can I be the most naked without somebody bothering me about it? Now, I'm not saying they're quote unquote trying to be naked at all times, but when they call themselves dressing up to go outside the house, that's really what it turned into. How can I be the most naked without somebody saying something to me? But see, the thing is, if you have men listening to quote unquote guys online, and men are saying, hey man, you a man, you supposed to be able to operate yourself like this, you supposed to be able to comport yourself like this, you're supposed to actually lead your family like this. Of course it's a problem to these folks. That's just, and like I said, that's what I seen from this conversation. I thought when I went into it there would be something more significant truly going on. I didn't really see that. I just saw this as, we got to stop these boys from listening to these men. And I don't really believe they think boys are listening to the men. I think they really know it might be some younger men that's doing it. I'm pretty sure there is some boys that exist doing it, but I don't think it's boys in large numbers. It's just the men are starting to basically develop themselves and think they should lead themselves because they talking to men and ain't no women involved. We can't have a big group, especially a group of black men, walking around thinking they don't need to check in about the decisions they're going to make. And when you think about that from a political standpoint, okay, that's really going to make a difference. And yeah, the Democratic Party would be truly concerned about that, because they believe black people supposed to vote. They believe black people are supposed to vote for them simply because they're black. So therefore, you owe the Democratic Party your vote. That's what the Democratic Party says on a regular basis. If you listen to what they're actually saying, you basically owe them your vote. Now, let me say real quick too. Shout out to Afro Merchant. He did come through with $20.57. Shout out to him for the Trail Bentley tax on the Cash App side. Thank you, my brother. He just gave me the salute. And I appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate that. So shout out to Afro Merchant. Glad you saw fit to do so, brother. Glad you saw fit to do so.
Let me slide up in here too. Okay,
go ahead.
So going back to the times of Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey, and this is why research is very critical. The assault on masculinity, is not a new phenomenon at all. It's actually an old one. It's a continuum. The white suffragists that wanted the right to vote, who got pissed off at black men getting the right to vote over them, have been a thorn in the side of black masculinity since we got the right to vote, starting with Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who used to be cool with Frederick Douglass, and then once black men got the right to vote before them, they turned on them. And so when you go to Booker T and Garvey, one of the things that I've found out in the research that I've done is that groups from Africa, Caribbean, India, China, and Japan, as they were translating some of the books Booker T. Washington had wrote, they actually started I know it's going to sound weird, man, but it's real. As they were getting an understanding of Booker T. Washington's philosophy, what they actually wanted to incorporate his philosophy into the fabric of their group from an ethnic perspective, because they recognized that they were behind the 8 ball. So because Tuskegee represented the full projection of masculinity, you know what I'm saying? He had a whole pipeline from He had schools for the young boys. He had Tuskegee. He had the National Negro Business League, the Negro Farmer Conference. I mean, there was just, I mean, he was doing business internationally. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And so, because Garvey was a student of his philosophy, being that he was Jamaican, his philosophy was really taking foothold in a lot of places in the world that we look at. Like when we look at Japanese and Indians and Chinese, we look at them like, oh man, like they understand, they got the technology, this and that and the fourth. And what we don't realize is that the premise of what they're doing was based off of what we were doing. They were literally coming to Tuskegee, like how when the U.S. have foreign delegations that come in here and they sit and talk with the U.S. and learn how to do certain things so they can take back and implement back where they're from. Booker T. Washington wasn't even the president. He was the president of a college. He had that much cachet and that much pull that people were literally coming to Tuskegee to talk to him, to pick his brain. We want to send students over here because the education that they're getting in the white universities is not making them men. But the education that our students get coming to places like Tuskegee is actually making our boys men. And so when you look at it from that perspective, even Garvey used to visit the offices of Du Bois, and what he recognized like, yo, like, where are the men at? Like Garvey, the projection of Garvey from an aesthetic was very purposeful. It was very purposeful to project the sentiment of true masculinity. It wasn't like he was just dressing the way he wanted to dress because it was cute. Like, it was purposeful. He wanted to project true masculinity for Black people in the United States. And he was lockstep into Booker T. Washington's philosophy. There is no Garvey movement without Booker T. It don't exist. There's no Nation of Islam without Booker T. Elijah Muhammad was a Garveyite. Okay, so when you really look at it from this particular perspective, what you find is that the notion of masculinity, because in our group there's a lot of talk about, oh well, Black men, they're not masculine and all this alpha stuff. Like, man, the true alphas, man, were the ones who was getting shit done, and Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey was getting stuff done. They wasn't throwing out all the theoretical, the PhD type stuff. They wasn't against education, but they were against the type of education that kept Black people going in a circle jerk consistently. We in the same circle jerk we've been in for the past 100+ years. So they never wanted that. They never wanted that for Black people. That's why they gave them tangible institutions. You know what I'm saying? Garvey had his the UNIA. Booker T. Washington had Tuskegee and National Negro Business League and other organizations, part of merchants associations, all these types of things. And foreign people, even at that time, without the internet and all that, they saw that Booker T model worked. I mean, the reality is, we could see the effect of what China and India and Japan became over time. It wasn't on their own accord, though. They literally was translating the books of him and reading his philosophy. And what we find is that their notion of ethnic pride, so when they come over here thinking like they better than us, guess where they got it from? They got it, man, in places like Tuskegee, because they were learning to take the skills that they were learning from Black men back home to teach the other men, so they can have some ethnic pride in their group, because they had just got their basically asses whooped in war. So they needed something to help rebuild them up. They used the philosophy of Black men to build up their countries to where it is right now. So anybody that's sitting here trying to act like Black men don't represent the true masculinity, bullshit. We the true essence of of true masculine development, period.
Now I'm gonna give some slight pushback because when you were talking about the college made them men, I'm giving slight pushback. I'm not going to say the college made the men. The college made them more capable men. Because, see, back then, you actually was raised by your dad. You was taught to be a man. So what you going to do when you go to college? You're going to go there, you're going to listen, you're going to get the structure, you're going to get the education, and you're going to apply it and use it in an orderly fashion. You know, so I'm saying it just made them better men. But we actually had men that were going because they were raised in homes with men. This is before the families and everything got broke up. So it's like slight pushback, but not really. And to me, that's what is they want to avoid at this particular point. Because when you think about it, you're talking about what men did when they weren't checking in with the women. And what black women do not want is for men to do stuff where they don't check in with the women, you know. And like I said, now they talking in this, all men could be included in this conversation, but let's keep it real, y'all. These are black people talking about issues. They talked about some specific issues to the general black person. And at the end of the day, I mean, Michelle acknowledged herself, they're not growing up with men in the home, but she wouldn't say anything about the fact that that's because that's the way women want it, you know. If you want men in the home, all you gotta do is go to where the man lives. You know, a lot of people forget that. It's that easy to be in a lot of men's homes. You just go to where he lives. You know, it's not a bunch of dudes out here that's not gonna take a woman in that has his child. Not amongst black men. That just don't exist. It would be extremely inconvenient to some men based on what their situation already is. You know, some guys will have to literally mess up a whole relationship with another person that they already got. But ain't too many black men go not take you in when you already got their kids. Because black men are soft-hearted in those ways when it comes to their children. It just is what it is, you know. But the idea that black men will actually run some, I think that is a personal threat to black women. I think it was covered on this so you could see it as a political threat, because at the end of the day, Michelle is still viewed as a political figure, even though she hasn't had a job in politics. Her position as first lady still gives her a representation of a political figure, and we're talking about a former president of the United States in Barack Obama. So ain't nothing he gonna ever do beyond this point that is not gonna have political impact. So I think he came to help his wife at the end of the day. You know, let me say some stuff to kind of rock with how she want to go with things. Plus, it's gonna mean more because I'm a former president of the United States, and then I can just dress it up, which he did, to say, well, you know, as a man raising girls, I need the boys to be in a good situation, so the girls will have somebody to get with at the end of the day, which is not our problem at all as black folks. We do not have an issue where girls don't have somebody to get with. Our issue is we don't have women that listen to the men, you know. But of course, none of that was presented on this situation. That's why I say I don't think he went too extreme either way. He was just trying to, in my opinion, he was just trying to stay down the middle. Not that that was necessarily a good thing, but that's how I saw him trying to move it. I'm gonna stay in the middle and not really say none of the stuff that really need to be said, even though this would be a great place to do it. Y'all give me one moment. I need to take a call real quick, y'all. I need to take a call real quick. So somebody just jump in there, please.
All right. So, you know, once again, I think when you deal with people on these levels, uh, or we see these people on these levels, and they are making decisions on these levels that, for lack of words, trickle down to where it has an effect on um, us, directly or indirectly. Um, we just can, or the most that we can do is look at what the example is and deal with what we're dealing with from an immediate position. Because the people up in those levels, they say stuff, do stuff. It's just like when Oprah and Tyler Perry. You remember when that happened over there in Hawaii somewhere, all that. And then they came online and said, "Oh yeah, we want people to help with the money." When they had the money, they got all of it, but they want the small folk to contribute to all the stuff, right? And when they want us to give to it, that they want us to pay the lion's share while they just use their popularity as the payment. I when they do these talks and these podcasts and stuff like that, which I agree with Roger. Michelle wants to now get her name in the limelight and become equal to or more than Mr. Obama. We just end up looking at the same thing we've been talking about for the past umpteen years of how brothers have been forced or are being forced or constantly looked at as beneath everyone. But in the Bible, there's a saying, the first will be last and the last shall be first. Now I'll leave it at that.
All right. Appreciate you jumping in when asked, brother. Appreciate that. But we got my main man, H. Revels, coming into the building. So let me go ahead and give him the floor. You got it, my brother.
Hey, good morning to you, Roger. Shout out to the folks on the panel. I'm going to start off by saying I really want to like former President Obama. I really do. But all I can think about is, he had a platform, the largest platform and bully pulpit in history, or at least in America. I don't say history, I just say at least in America when he was the president. And if his concern was about boys, black boys, he's talking in coded language. He's trying to talk about all men, but he's really talking about black men, right? I hate when people do that, but that's what he's doing, right? In this particular clip, and I saw other portions of the interview. There's some other parts that's problematic, so I'm glad you kind of left that out. We can get to that later, but we'll just focus on what this particular clip is about. We understand you could almost give him a pass and maybe his first term, but by the time you get to his second term, he's got to get to the point where he's either done stuff by either through legislation or at the very minimum through executive order. He did none of that for black boys. The most he did was the My Brother's Keeper initiative, and I'll be honest with you, any celebrity could have done that. So that's kind of a small thing for the White House, a small time project. So if the concern is about boys, becoming men, then we've already had these conversations earlier. You got to invest in boys earlier, to the extent that they actually develop into men and good young adults. So by the time they become adults, you're not trying to play catch up, and they have some place to go. They have the education, they have the fortitude, they have the discipline and the focus to actually become better men. Women and men can't complain about what men are not available when there's no effort to actually produce these men. All right. I did what I could with my son and my daughters, right? And that is a concern. I actually do share that concern that he's talking about. What men are available when you know that the majority of these black men, because most black men are going to marry black women, so that's going to be the natural pairing. All right. So where are these men who are supposed to be available if they're not being produced by responsible men, if they're being raised by single parents, and particularly women, and then the grandmothers and great grandmothers and all this. I'm sorry, grandmothers, and then aunts and female cousins. Where are all the men? So you can't have this idea or this false notion of we got to create these men when there's no effort to actually make that happen, and only a small percent of men are actually doing that through family and through active and present husband activities and father activities for their children. See, so that's the look. I want to like him, I really do, but he's doing a lot of finger wagging and kind of talking in general, and he's doing the same thing that everybody else does when instead of just getting to the point. So people will listen to him, and they're not going to like him, but because he is who he is, we'll still listen. And if he's genuine in his effort, then we'll respect him for it. But until people do that, he's the same as anybody else. He may as well be a white man talking about the same nonsense. I'll go ahead and stop right there.
And that's the key. That what you said was the key. He is able to communicate white bigotry as an alleged black person where it's not received that way. See, if many of the criticism that because that's all Barack has ever done in his career is use certain points in time to demonize black men. I mean, hell, he was given the commencement at Morehouse and was criticizing black men. I think that was in his first term.
Yeah. So initially, was that Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, I saw it as a good thing because it's like, okay, he's working towards. This was during the campaign, by the way. If you go back to 2008, you remember this was during the campaign. So I was like, okay, this is a good thing. He's bringing awareness to this. He's got this platform. He's talking about it. That means men and women are listening. He may or may not become president, but at least we heard the message. And you got a black man actually, or who we perceive as a black man, reinforcing this message. The problem is that when he did get that pulpit, and he did have that power, he didn't use it. And then he, said, "Oh well, everybody's blocking me, and I can't get stuff done." And meanwhile, he was able to get stuff done for everybody else. Like there's every racial group and every interest group, and if black men, and here's the thing, and this is what I tell people: if black men are so far behind and need so much help, then that's and we're just that incompetent, we're just that intellectually lazy, physically lazy, and everything else. Well, then you got to give the people that need the most help, and we don't get any of it. So we can't have a message that's contradictory, right?
Right.
And the thing about it is, and when you look across the board and you look at the data, this is why I stay up on the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that almost off the top of my head, with almost anything that somebody says negative about black men, there's an easy way to dispute it just by saying the data. Black men are broke. Well, black men make on average $50,000 a year. That's only a $10,000 difference from white men, and a little less than, maybe about a $20,000 difference in Asian men. So what constitutes actually being broke? That sounds like everybody's broke to me. Okay, black men got all these kids everywhere. Well, if only 46% of black men actually have children, and most of those children are produced in marriage, where are all these babies coming from? Outside of wedlock. Like it's, so if there's a true problem, then find the origin and the actual root of the problem. Find the origin and actual root of the problem, then attack the problem. And then if we need so much help, then give us all of this help. I mean, we'll take the help. But everybody's got a lot of long list of complaints about black American men. Ain't nobody trying to offer any help. I'm not saying we actually need it, because we don't, because they know that we don't. The thing is that they got a long list of complaints that they can't justify.
Hey, H Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to what I originally said. When you have these people who are up there who can't really relate. I think there's a relation struggle here, and for when these guys, when people talk like this and put out these kind of things that they think will be beneficial, and then they stop with what they think is beneficial and go the opposite direction with what will be detrimental, with the perception that is good for us, that they're doing right. And then, we get those reasons. Well, I can't do this because I thought the same thing. I thought, well, why didn't he do this, that, and other? Well, the conversation became, well, because he was blocked by this power or that power, right? But now we have another president, and he just says, forget that, man. I'm signing something, man. This is what we doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Trump is running wild. Trump is running so wild that even people who voted for him are like, I regret voting for him. He's got a 56%, 55 or 56% disapproval rating right now. And you know what? He don't give a flip, because he can't get reelected no way. And not only that, he has the Congress, and he has both houses. So he can, if he really wanted to, that's how he got his big, beautiful bill pushed through. He got both houses of Congress. He's got the bully pulpit of the executive office, and he's running buck wild. And he's kicking people out of the country left and right, and then raising tariffs and all this other stuff. So he don't give a flip. Now I understand as a president, when he got elected, as a black man, the first one, you got to be, or biracial, whatever he's calling himself. The thing is that you have to be a bit more delicate with how you present yourself, because the second you start doing stuff that you should be doing as a black man, Now all of a sudden, everybody's like questioning it and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
and now you got to deal with all the backlash, right? Because
Right. You're supposed to be for all the people. You're supposed to be for all the people, right?
well, he
That
didn't
type
help
of
all the people. Except
No,
black
no,
people.
no, 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 no. You ain't supposed to be for all the people. You're supposed to be for the people. Let's be clear. Citizenship is a two-way street. So you can't just be out there, I'm gonna vote for you, and then I'm gonna just sit and wait for you to give me something. Like there needs to be an engagement aspect. There needs to be something that you're doing. Like I keep saying this over and over and over again. Your vote should be tied to some form of money, a saving on a tax, in some kind of deduction that you could use in a business, something that helps you keep more of your money so you can do whatever your disposable income you want to like empty platitudes and the first black. See, that's how they get black people with this BS. The first black person, such and such and such and such. Like we just arrived on a planet yesterday. Like we've been on this planet longer than anybody on this joint. So we have created a whole bunch. And matter of fact, in this American context, we created so much that people have tried to hide a lot of the inventions that we created because they don't want to give black men specifically the proper credit, because it undermines all of the notions of black people. As because when they dehumanize black men, they're using it to dehumanize black people as a whole. And this is what a lot of black females don't understand. You're a part of that dehumanization. Even if they give you some trinkets and some crumbs, you're still a part of that. And so now, let's be clear, like they want to dehumanize black men because they do not want black men to walk around with the confidence that we are supposed to walk around with. When we walk around with confidence, you know what we're labeled as? Even from the females in our group. You're arrogant, you're cocky. I've been hearing that stuff my whole life. You change it to a white guy, you change it to an Asian, it ain't no problem. They don't even complain about it. If you do it
Well,
as a
let me
black
say
man,
this.
all of a sudden you're all the negative stereotypes because you decide to hold your head up high and your chest out because you actually about something.
Let me say this. Let me say this. What I meant by you're supposed to be for all the people. That's the perception they try to place on Mr. Obama, right? You supposed to be for all the people, not specifically for the black people, especially black boys to men. That's what I meant by that.
Okay.
Well,
But I'm gonna say that the
because
unfortunate part with that is black men is included in all people. So at the end of the
Right.
day,
Right.
when you the leader, you're supposed to
Yeah.
make sure everybody good. And if everybody ain't good, you work on who's worst off. Who do I need? Who need to get fixed the most? That's what you would do. But now the thing is, they had this whole conversation. Now Barack has already been president. He wasn't even raised with his own daddy. He has certain concerns or issues, and he literally was asking Michelle's brother certain things. Well, how did you see it? Because your daddy was in the house. Not one thing did he ever say about fathers being in the home. He never said, well, women probably should just start raising kids with the men. He didn't say that one time. There was no little concern of that. If that's what you think the problem is, how come you ain't say one thing and say, well, these women probably should just start going to these fathers and having the kids in the home and raising them together? But he wouldn't say
Well,
nothing like that.
that's because he's part of that system which we spoke about earlier. I'm saying that you said it, Roger. When it comes to him saying something and he get pushed back by the women, then he falls back, right? I mean, that's what happens. He falls back.
But
that's the problem.
Yeah,
You
he
got to
didn't
be able to.
even try to give anything to get pushed back on. That's what the whole conversation. He never said one thing that he was going to receive any pushback on. He just going with the line. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he was just right down the middle. He didn't want to have no smoke from no direction.
Well,
And my thing is, as
but
a
hold on,
former
but that's what I'm
president, that's
saying.
not cool.
But what I'm saying is that why are we expecting a person like I have to give them credit, man. I have to give people credit like Andrew Young, Julian Bond, years back when he started to come on the scene. A lot of those people, those civil rights people, there was a good portion of them, from what I remember, who did not accept Obama as a black person in the sense that we understand as far as like ADOS, FBA, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now I see the wisdom of that because he never supported reparations. And when we see this conversation talk about as far as reparations, it's typically some person that's masquerading as a black person. You see their background, oh, it's their family, you know, they come from Jamaica. Their family is from Kenya. He admitted that he didn't say he had an FBA father. He admitted that, according to him, to his narrative, his father was African. So we got people who are literally not a part of the lineage. Like, dude is not a part of the lineage. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care how people feel about it. I know we wanted to see a black president. I know all that shit. It sounds great, cool, whatever the case may be. But we got to look at this shit, man, in a more adult-like fashion. And the reality of the situation is you should not be speaking on things that are pressing to us when you don't come from the lineage like that. I'm sorry. You're just out of place. You're out of pocket. We don't do that to other people. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that to other people. And so what I'm saying is, especially even when it came to Harris, when she came up, because they was about to try to run the same bullshit ass play again. And she out there trying to say, well, LGBTQ and illegal immigrants should have access to the Freedmen Bank. You're trying to talk about, like, really? Like, this is for us. This is for us. That's why I'm glad this issue about the 14th Amendment start coming around and stuff like that, because it really knocked a lot of people from other backgrounds. It knocked them down a few pegs, recognizing like, nah, we good here. Y'all ain't good here. Y'all ain't the ones that's good here. And for me, like, we got to stop like giving everybody an honorary black person card. You know what I'm saying? Like, black people do this all the time. Hell, they do it with Eminem in rap. Like, I'm sick of that type of stuff. Like, we got to stop. We got to start holding and towing the line and saying, look, this is what we are. This is what we represent. Look, we cool. If we can work with you, we can work with you. But if y'all going to come over here and literally try to use the things that we had to scrape for and claw for to get, and then you're going to try to undermine the very representation, the very definition of it. Nah, man, we're not going to go for it. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, you're not going to sit here, man, and talk about, like, what black men need to do, this and that and the fourth, and blah, this. And your mama was out there thotting, bro. I'm sorry. I ain't trying to hear it, dog. Nope.
I mean, it is what it is when it comes to what his mama was doing. Go ahead, A-Travel. Say what you wanted to say.
Gold P said that, so Obama did actually say this from the beginning because black people were putting some pressure on him. He said, I'm not the president of just black America. I'm the president of all of America, right? And he did. That's
what Harris said. That's what Kamala said too.
He did do something to benefit all of America except black men. He even had an initiative that included black women. You see what I'm saying? So this was the guy who was talking about fatherhood and all this other stuff during his campaign, wagging his finger and all this other stuff. And when he had a chance to actually do something, the most that he came up with was an initiative that actually got pushed back, that he actually put on the back burner until he got out of office to kind of, you know, he touches it a little bit every now and then, but you don't really hear anything about it. And by the way, it's not even exclusive to only black men. It actually includes all races of men. And that includes white men who might be disadvantaged. See, that's how they do that stuff. So it's not even exclusive to black men or young black boys. All I'm saying is that, look, I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring attention to a problem without offending. So this is the problem. He's trying to bring attention. Let me get this phone real quick. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna say real quick. I don't even think he's trying to bring attention to any specific problem based on how he's talking. Yeah. I mean, he's just trying to help Michelle in one regard. He may be trying to help the Democrats in a different regard because he still is a Democrat. Not that I like the Democrats or the Republicans, but yeah, he's not there to give any real help. Not that I can tell to the quote unquote issues that they're supposed to be talking about. Because if the whole thing is about black boys developing, or even if you say boys develop in general, well, how come there was no talk about a father being in the home? Now, you're not the president right now. You know, I still call you President Obama because I know it's still like a formal, correct thing to do. But you're not the president right now, man. You can say whatever you want to say at this point. The man is clearly retired at this point. You know, he's not really doing no stressful work at all. He's clearly, he can say what he wants to say and without the same type of political backlash. And at the end of the day, he's just not on that.
Well, so Roger, he's got to be able to stay in the middle in the sense that he can't upset. He don't mind upsetting black men. No one cares about upsetting black men, but he can't upset the women, and he can't upset anybody else. He definitely can't upset non-white people. I'm sorry, non-black people, but he can't upset black women because he knows where where the base of the party supposedly lies. Until even though they're trying to replace black people with somebody else, but the thing is that because he's doing that, he's talking. He's doing what everybody else does, which is talking around the issue. And the one thing, and Gopi, you said something about what is it? You said that it's part of it is because of his celebrity status, and he's not down here with the rest of us. No, this guy had the nuclear codes at one point. He's very smart. He's very intelligent. He ain't B. Simone, right? This guy knows exactly what the issues are and what's going on. And I actually heard President Obama at times talk about. See, this is what he did. He attached himself, even though he's of Kenyan descent. I have a Kenyan father, white mother, right? He attached himself to Black American history, and he actually spoke about it with some sense. And he used it to his advantage. So I'm like, okay. So, and this is where so this is Rod. This is kind of where he fooled a lot of people, right? You saw that, right? Where he fooled a lot of people. Like he was really using parts of Black American history to outline some of the issues and problems that are built in the system, as if he was going to do something, knowing that okay, I can talk about it, I can point to it, but I can't really do anything to correct any of these problems. I better not mention reparations. I remember hearing an interview. He literally said some I think it was a black interviewer. He said, so if something's for Black Americans, why not state that like you did for everybody else? And Obama shot back and said, no, that's not how America works. That's exactly how America works, except for Black
Americans. Hey, Race Rebel, look, man. What I meant was, okay, look, here's the example. People can be around like us. We're having this conversation. We can relate, right? It doesn't mean people aren't familiar with what we're talking about, but we can relate to certain things more intently or deeply. We have a deeper connection, whether we are in each other's presence or not, whether we've met each other or not. We have a connection because we can relate in a certain way. I'm saying that they can't really relate. Yeah, he might have been a senator, and he might have, but if he could really relate, then he would have stood on business.
Now, I don't think it's that he can't relate. He just don't care to.
He don't care to. Okay. Exactly. Well, he don't. He's a ruse, man.
A person who doesn't care to can't relate. It ain't just a direct relate is indirectly as well. If I care something about you, okay, if I care something about you, then I'm going to do my best to relate to what is going on with you and help make it better for you, well as myself.
Hold on, go P. Hold on. The most thuggish niggas in the country was out there stomping for this dude, bro. Yeah, the most. Okay. I mean, the cats in the trap. Dude, let's take a trip down memory lane because people forget. There was a split for a minute between who Black men were going to vote for and who Black women were going to vote for during that campaign. A lot of Black females were going to vote for Hillary Clinton over Obama. Everybody forget it, boy. It was Black men that was out there making the case for Obama.
I got it. But listen, Rob, I'm not speaking from Black men relating to him. I'm saying him relating to us, man. That's what I'm saying.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm in agreement with what you're saying. I'm sure of what you're saying. Saying yes, like sir. We was the ones that was on the stomping ground. Like I'm talking about because we've been in these spaces talking about this educated lane stuff and all that. Man, mostly every Black dude dropped all dudes. If dudes was engaged on that, dudes that was like, man, y'all dudes is lame for getting good grades. Man, even them dudes dropped it. They like, all right, for the cause, all right, we gonna support this cat. You know what I'm saying? Like in a lot of ways, a lot of Black females had to be shamed into voting for him because the look was going to be, well, if you got a black man, a so-called black man that has a great opportunity to get into office, and y'all vote for this white female, oh boy, it's gonna be a wrap. We wouldn't even be
I
having
don't
this
think it was
conversation.
shamed. I don't think they were shamed.
that
No, you
Hillary
can't
couldn't
shame
win.
them.
It
You,
was.
look, you can't shame.
Hillary,
It
Listen,
was.
Hillary did
you
not
can't
win.
shame them.
No, the thing is, it wasn't
Go
about
back.
shame. Hillary just simply lost, so therefore they didn't have her on the ticket to vote for. If she would have been on the ticket, they'd have voted for her at the end of the day.
No, y'all forgot Iowa, bro. A lot of black people, dude, Al Sharpton, when he first came out, he was supporting Hillary. He said, I'm voting for Hillary. When Barack won Iowa, that's where the shame came in. Like, there was an upset, bro.
I'm not disagreeing with that part. What I'm saying is the black women did not have Hillary available to vote for, and that's why they didn't vote for her.
No, she was in the race. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying she didn't. She couldn't go further on. They were still on Hillary. Every black woman I talked to.
Hold on.
I'm gonna say this. Every black woman I talked to, and I definitely was doing surveys on that about who you voting for. All of them said Hillary.
Right. That's my point. When the possibility.
I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you on the fact that they wanted Hillary. My thing is the only reason they couldn't vote for Hillary because Hillary couldn't get further when it comes to the race, and that's it. That's when they dropped it. It had nothing to do with they were shamed out of supporting Hillary. She just couldn't make it far enough for them to continue to support Hillary. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's get this right off top. You can't shame black women. They are the masters of shaming. Okay. No, they was making their decisions, and we seen many in the internet world, public spaces of them going hard about who men were voting for. It wasn't us shaming them. No, you can't shame somebody who's the master of shaming. How's that work?
I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I'm saying from a public perception perspective. It was going to be very hard for them to sit back and say, we're going to support her when a quote unquote black man has the opportunity to win. There was not going to be any ability to come back from that. If it was put out like, man, had black females voted for Barack, man, he would have won. Because remember, like I said before, like a lot of the civil rights people were actually like, nah, it ain't his time yet. But because a lot of black females love Bill Clinton, that's how Hillary Clinton got a lot of support, because they were thinking, well, if we vote for Hillary, we getting Bill again. The problem is that when he won the first two primaries, it was going to be very hard for them to stick with Hillary like that. It was going to be very hard for them to stick with her like that after he upset her in two straight primaries. Like, she was holding on for dear life, but he had pretty much smashed her in Super Tuesday. Like, it was pretty much over after that. And she kept holding on.
And that's what I'm saying. As long as she was holding on, black women were holding on to her. It's just she got discounted by other people, and she couldn't go no further in the race. And keep in mind, black women never supported Obama or President Obama. Every single one of them that I talked to, no matter what part of the country they were from, as if it was a memo out there, every single one of them told me, I'm not voting for Barack, I am voting for Michelle. They all literally said that, as if there was a meeting.
That's right.
And I'm talking about people from Chicago was saying it, people from St. Louis was saying it, people from California was saying it. Like, y'all keep in mind, it's people from all over the world in Chicago, and people come visit. And I'm asking all kinds of folks in downtown Chicago where you get a good mix of everybody, and every single one of them told me they was voting for Michelle.
Yeah, they voting for Michelle because
they never supported Barack.
If Mr. Obama was with, we all know it, if he was with the white broad, nobody would have voted for
him. Hell no.
The thing is, he was with a black woman. They still didn't vote for him. They voted for Michelle.
That's my point. That's my point.
So I'm saying you don't have to bring up a if, because you didn't need an if. They still didn't vote for it.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, hey, look, man.
Yeah, because they were saying
know
like,
what it is.
okay, because they was basically saying stuff like, okay, he got a black woman that's gonna keep him in check. All
Right.
right, okay, it's cool. Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Yeah,
They
that's
literally
right.
told me I'm voting for Michelle. That's it. That's what they
That's
said.
right.
Literally out their own mouth.
Yeah.
But I'm voting, and that's why I said it sounded like it was a meeting that I didn't know nothing about, because they were saying it in the same words. You know.
Yeah. If he was married to Maria,
what I'm
Becky,
saying,
or something, he wouldn't have had a chance.
No, what I'm
Regardless of
saying
how we
is,
say it, it wouldn't have happened.
No,
Regardless, you can say it. You can say it how you say it, Roger. I can say it how I say it.
Go
and Roger, go ahead. Go ahead.
You trying to make a distinction that ain't there. It didn't make he didn't make a difference. They voted for a black woman, period. He didn't even matter. He never mattered to them. He still don't matter to them. They
Well, I got to give you pushback because if that was the case, then they would have went with Kamala.
They did.
They would have went. Well, she didn't win, did she?
She just didn't win, but that's because the vote ain't just black people. She
well,
didn't win.
My point is
they voted for her like 97% or something, 98%, bro. They did vote for her. They never cared about somebody
they tried
else.
to shame brothers into voting for her as well, right?
My thing is, there needs to be a clear distinction that Obama didn't matter. They voted for a black woman who happened to be married to a man.
Obama, I don't dispute you on that. I don't dispute you on that.
But to say, well, what if he was married to somebody else? He never mattered. So what he did don't concern them. It was simply the fact they was voting for a woman.
No. I mean, I get what you're saying, but look, man, he couldn't have win with just black women voting for him.
No.
And I'm saying, go ahead.
I'm not saying. I'm saying you're saying if he would have been married to somebody else, as if he mattered. He didn't matter. Only the woman mattered, man.
Yeah. As far as the black community, as far as the black so-called black
that's what we're talking about. Who black women voted for? They didn't vote for him. He never mattered. It was only the woman he happened to be married to that mattered. He never did. So when you say, well, if he'd have married somebody else, he didn't matter literally, and they didn't vote for him. They literally voted for Michelle, even though she wasn't officially on the ticket. They didn't care nothing about him.
That's why you never heard it. I never heard any black female saying relationship goals in reference to Barack and Michelle. I never saw it. I never heard it. I never saw it. I never saw it, dog. I never saw it. I never heard it.
It's a good chance you're gonna die and still ain't gonna see it.
Yeah, for real. You ain't never seen that shit, bro. That just tells you everything you need to know. I mean, we done seen Remy Ma and Papoose relationship goals, and Jay-Z and Beyonce relationship goals. I've never seen them say Barack and Michelle. Never.
Well, probably because they don't see themselves being on that level.
No, it's not that. They never looked at Barack as the masculine entity in that. They looked at Michelle being the leader of him. That's why.
Exactly. Now let me say this real quick. Shout out
to that would be even more reason.
Hold on, brother. Let me read this. I just had to read this real quick. Shout out to Black Women's Strikes. He said neither Obama nor Kamala Harris are ADOS. At this point, we must assume that until proven otherwise, a non-ADOS black is opposed to ADOS reparations. And I'm going to say that's the extremely safe conclusion based on not just them two, any other political figure who's been out there. That's an extremely safe conclusion to come to. And to me, it just makes sense at the end of the day to assume that they're not for reparations because they don't want us to get something that they didn't get. Just is what it is, you know? And now, and I'm going to say this too, because now when it comes to Barack and black women's relationship to Barack, black women have said themselves, if I date a white man, I want to date a real one. So their whole thing about a black man is if you actually are a productive man, if you're actually a functional man, if you're a respectable man, you're not a real black man to them.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Women say that all the time. A real man would do this, and they talk a lot of stuff about things that you would have to do, that you would literally have to break the law over, or to just be a fool and react about some woman's situation without any thought of a consequence to yourself. So if you actually a thinking black man, they don't think you're a real black man. That's why they say if I date a white man, because brothers be like, well, why you date that corny dude? No, if I'm gonna date a white man, I want to date a real one, which means what? I'm not trying to date a white man who act like a black man, because if you know, the people they call wiggers, they say those guys are acting like black men. Black women would tell you that. So that's their perception of black men.
So here's the problem, though. So what about the black men who are comparable to white men, but are just
You're
black?
not now you're acting white.
See, so they're black. Like, look, you can make the argument that I could be white, but right. But now you guys know, but you hear the way I talk. Ain't nothing about me that me trying to be like a white dude, because I know what I look like. I'm as dark as
But they will say that you're trying to act like a white man, because if you have a job, if you take care of your children, if you own a business, you got a college degree, you do anything that's considered respectable, they say you're trying to act white.
No,
You talk proper. You talk proper.
Man,
Exactly.
dude, I heard that
I don't hear it all the time, but I've heard that a couple times in my life. I don't hear it all the time, but I've heard it a couple times in my life. A woman I was dating actually said that to me.
Yeah, I've been told that too. Yeah,
I have heard plenty of people have somebody say that to them. You talking white, because y'all keep in mind, I was in school I was always moved to the side with the gifted people or the academically advanced people and all that. So I done heard plenty of people. They didn't say it to me per se, but I've heard it said to plenty of people. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, they're saying this for a reason. This is their perception. And my thing is, Barack wasn't trying to solve nothing. He came on a whole podcast. It was a little more than an hour. I think it was an hour, 20 minutes. And that man not one time said, women need to actually start raising children with their father. And this is the son of a single mother himself.
Well,
now,
but
granted, his single mother was white, but he's still a son of a single mother.
He can't, Roger. It's too much what you call it, backlash. Like he will. Like you saw the backlash he got from black men wagging his finger about y'all ain't trying to vote for Kamala because she a woman, whatever, yada yada yada, whatever. And black men, and so when black men do it, everybody's like, yeah, you guys are upset, but whatever. Now if black women do it, that's a whole different story, and he knows that. Well, if he upsets the apple cart with black women, then see he can work past black men because he can say, well, you guys, you understand as men. He can try to black explain his way out of it, right, and mansplain it, and we still ain't gonna like it. We're still gonna give him hell. But the thing is that people will get over it. Look, it's fine in America to offend black men, even if you're lying. It's fine to offend us, even if you're lying. So that's not the issue.
But that's really why I was gonna say I don't think it's about offending at all. He's just being American. That's all it is. He's not worried about offending women. He's being American. He understands the rules of America is screw them niggas and praise everybody else. That who ain't doing that here and is huge in any kind of way. Name me one person that's huge that ain't doing that. Because the only person you could name, you will hear somebody who won't even mention nothing about black men. Because even if they on our side, they ain't gonna necessarily come out and say it like that. There's not one huge person in this country that's gonna be looking out for black men like that.
We bear the brunt of all that national and international misandry. We get it from Caribbean. We get it from Black American women in the United States. We get it from Karens in the United States. We get it from some of these other groups of people who have such a twisted view of what black men represent and represented in this country. Internationally, we get it a lot from Caribbeans. We get it from Africans, and we don't even be out here like that. Like, show me the channel, man, where dudes is like berating and coming down against the Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? As far as the women, you know what I'm saying? As far as Africa is concerned, like you don't see that out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what one of my issues is more so than anything. It's like y'all black when y'all want to be black. when it's politically advantageous for you to get some shit, when some of these Africans are able to claim black and get a scholarship because you're considered black, you jump in that category. We don't jump in and out of categories with other people. Either we support y'all shit or we don't. But we don't just have ass do it like that. But a lot of these people, they do black people like that. But they constantly wanting the support from black people. So
but that's being American. That's the issue. That's called being American. Take advantage of a black person any way you can. So when it's in regards to FBAs, disregard them everywhere you can, and never really acknowledge them for anything. That's American. That ain't a foreign black thing. That's an American thing. They're just participating in America, the way America operates. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying when the people who do that, they're just being American. Because that's
false. Because because in Africa they got all types of tribalism there. They be on some BS with they own. So they
over there they're not American.
I know, but I'm saying over here, what I'm saying over here is like we have an established track record of lending our support to them and their causes. Okay. We have a extensive track record from apartheid to black men wanting to join the military during World War I when Italy invaded Ethiopia. They wanted to join the military so they could fight on behalf of Ethiopia. Letting these foreign students come to places like Tuskegee. Matter of fact, when America invaded Haiti, what Booker T wanted to do, he wanted to set up satellite Tuskegees in Haiti for the men in Tuskegee and the women, because there were women who learned in Tuskegee as well. And so let's be clear, like we have a bona fide track record of being supportive, because a lot of times these people, because what's happening is that now that these people are starting to feel the pain from Trump because their position ain't secure, now they're like, well, why black people ain't out there supporting us? We're like, well, wait,
Rob, but I'm gonna give you a pushback. I'm gonna give you pushback, bro. I'm gonna say to you, yes, we do have a track record of helping, but the bigger track record is us being used. That's the bigger.
Yes, I agree.
And all I'm gonna say to when you all said and done, I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but when they over here acting American, that's what they supposed to do. They supposed to take the scholarship because it's considered for a black person, so an FBA can't have it. That's what they supposed to do to participate over here in America. That's the job. You know, now us helping somebody who don't care for us, that's a us issue. We're supposed to recognize people that's on our side and people that's not on our side, which is why I'm talking about what Obama did now, because he clearly ain't on our side, because you presented this stuff and you know how it's going to come off the people as a quote unquote black man. But this dude ain't trying to solve nothing, wouldn't say anything to solve anything. He wouldn't make one, and they talk for over an hour, wouldn't make one suggestion that'll actually change up stuff to benefit us over here. It was just, I'm gonna recycle nonsense. That's all it was at the end of the day. That's why I say he didn't say anything too off or on. Brother was just kind of staring in the middle, but he didn't want to say anything that was gonna help. The man is a brilliant man. Too many people done called Obama brilliant for me to think he did what he did as an accident. No, this is definitely a man who know how to talk. Everybody talks about how he's a great orator, one of the best orators we done had, and I don't know how long. That's how people talk about this dude. And I'm not saying he ain't. I just know it, with all that in his background, it ain't no accident. He said what he said the way he wanted to say it, because that's the way he wanted to be. He is not against status quo. It's just that simple at the end of the day. And I'm going to say, yeah, y'all done brought up Trump a couple times. Well, Trump did what he could do. He used executive orders to get certain things done that he had the power to do. Barack, how many executive orders did he have the power to do to help a black man in any way? How many did he write? Because I don't remember any. So I'm just saying he been consistent the whole time. Keep in mind, y'all, this is the person who I voted for him the first time. I ain't vote for him the second time. The jig was already up with me. That's real talk.
Yeah, I voted twice. Because as I said, my mindset was okay. He couldn't get nothing through. I was in that hoopla or the mindset that he couldn't get nothing through on the first one. He had to go the second round to really lay it in, but failure, right? Failure. So hey, but I own that. You know what I mean? I own that.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna close out with this, y'all, because we at the 3 hour mark. I do actually got to go meet my mother after this.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna go and close it out because I'm getting up with her. Shout
Shout
out
out
to
Mama
Black Who.
Roger. Shout out Mama Roger.
Hey, appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Shout out to Black Who Strikes. He said Roger's right. That's why white people fix things to allow them to come here and begin with. They authorized the Immigration Act to allow them to come and just a year after the 64 Civil Rights Act. Yeah, because those black people don't have the issues with this government that we got with it. So if they can get those black people in and get us out as FBAs, that's great for this country. The way they see things, that's great. Because we ain't got no beef with them. It's just the niggas over here. Them FBA niggas is the ones we really hate. And you can get caught up with us by hanging with us too tough. But other than that, they don't care about what these other folks do. Y'all, I live in a city where all kinds of people live. Please don't bother them like that. They can get caught up if they in our areas, but if over in their areas, ain't no police steady pulling people over at random. They know what in Chicago, y'all, folks is very separated. Okay, you won't really hear this on the news. There are white neighborhoods here. There are black neighborhoods here. You have mixed neighborhoods for periods of time, but usually a mixed neighborhood becomes a single neighborhood. That's normally how it goes. When you see mixed, that means somebody's coming in and other people going out. It's very separated in this city. They say this is probably one of the most racist or segregated, I should say, cities in the country. I kind of believe it. I ain't been to every city, but I kind of believe it based on the stuff I grew up seeing. But y'all, let me let y'all go.
Let me. Hey, Roger. I'm gonna go on and close out my closing statement. Let's say.
Okay, everybody get a closing statement. We're gonna stretch it even more because Gold P got to say something.
Come on, Roger. Hey, but what I want to say is, look, man. I have never been really politically astute. Which I think many of us might be in the same boat. Of course, there are people who are more thorough at it, but I'm speaking from a personal standpoint. And I when it like Raw, I was like, okay, when he first came, I was like, okay, it's the black family, but I think many of us was in that line, like, yeah, this is what we doing. And then I'm learning the politics and blah blah blah, and second time came around, and I thought, okay, I'm learning something, but apparently I still had a lot to learn. But I think I'm a little more understanding of what is going on and things of that nature, and I can appreciate this broadcast as well for giving me lessons. Hey, I welcome correction all the time. So indeed, I am thankful, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, then Rael, go ahead with yours, and then we get to H Rebels.
Peace, Gold P. Salute to you. Salute to panel in the chat. I'm saying this, like we have such a great history as men in this country that we really need to be abreast of. Number one, like, we should not be kowtowing to anybody. We the teachers, man. Like, people got it from us, man. Like, make no mistake about it, man. You take us away from this landmass, man. Man, this is a third world country, man. That's what it's gonna be here. Let's be clear. So we don't have to kowtow to anybody, man. We should hold our heads high. We should be proud of what we put forward. That's why I do so much research, man, because like, I like to see people's responses. Like, when they say something, especially from a different group, and they say something to disparage black people, And I say, oh, well, you know, if your people were so great, why did they need to come to us and learn from us 100 years ago? And then they'd be like, ooh, and they'd be like, okay. And so, you know, this is about reestablishing a level of self-respect and respect from other people. Um, we're not going to be respected if we keep falling for the same okey doke. Like they tried it with this, you know, fake, you know, black, you know, president, um, and we got duped. You know what I'm saying? You know, myself included, the first time around. But as you grow, you learn, or you're supposed to. And we got enough of a track record. We got enough of a history to know that this dude right here is not for us. He's never been for us. I can't stand him. I think he's a joke. I think he's a clown. He's a charlatan. And I don't even like the fact that he tried to mimic what he thought was cool black men persona. Because to me, it's an insult. Like, if you ain't us, man, don't be trying to do us like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we ain't doing it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't doing other people like that. So for me, I'm just, you know, of the mindset, like, especially in the last two election cycles, like, it's just been too much stuff revealed for us to really be on an okey doke type stuff, man. So just use your brain, man, and just, you know, stop being in your feelings about stuff, man, and just get the data, man, get the evidence, man, so you know who is who and what's what. I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, you justified a whole lot of reason why I started calling folks Obama black. You justified a lot of it and all that. Y'all, special show tonight at 9. We're going to get Rael to tell us how he really feel, okay? But no, real talk. Let's let H Rebels get in there. And y'all, we still gonna be backstage. If anybody's planning on coming up backstage after the show, of course, you're still welcome. I'm still gonna be backstage for a little bit, but I am finna start getting my stuff together so I can go meet up with moms at the end of the day. But go ahead, H Rebels.
Whew, yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone because he said enough about Obama. I'm gonna leave that alone. All right, so I'm not gonna mess with Rael and try to follow that. But I will say this: look, if the general assessment and everybody really truly believes the stereotypes, and they really have this negativity towards black men, black boys specifically, because that's where it starts. It starts before they become men; they're actually boys, and they think that black boys are doing so terribly. Then I need to see the investment. I don't want to hear the lip service. I don't want to hear the symptoms of the problem. I don't want to hear about the outcomes. All I want to hear about is what are you doing to actually, you know, get at the root of the problem and deal with the issue. And for decades, it's been basically good education and economic opportunities. That's literally it. And I haven't seen anybody do that. The U.S. government hasn't done it. There's been no effort by politicians, celebrities, anybody. I mean, there's been grassroots efforts, and that's about, grassroots only goes so far, and that's local. The thing is, you know, if y'all, everybody truly believes, if there's a general consensus that black men are just the worst people on the planet, especially black American men, we're such underperformers, substandard, so incompetent that we need all of this help and we just can't get it done. And what are the programs to actually make that happen? Because if you truly believe that and you don't have anything to show that you're attacking the problem, then what that means is that you really don't believe the problem. You just basically just want to dump on black men. Not only that, when I asked people about this, somebody was talking to me about crime one day and black men. I said, okay, so if it's such a problem, then what is the government doing to actually, you know, decrease this crime or eradicate it, or at least significantly decrease all of this crime, this black criminal problem that you guys love talking about? And you know, they were stumped. Nobody ever asked the guy that question. Nobody ever asked him. He was completely befuddled, and then so was everybody else in the discussion. I'm like, if y'all care about it, then let's see the effort. Otherwise, you just want to dump on black American men. That's it. And shout out to black men, because everything that we're doing so far as fathers, even when we're husbands, fathers, workers, blue collar, corporate, all of this other stuff, everything that we do, we seem to be doing well with it. And that's why people just really don't have anything to support what it is they're actually saying. That's what's going on. But at any rate, that's pretty much where I can sum that up and kind of leave it right there. If you're going to talk about it, talk about the problem for real. Otherwise, just be quiet, because now you're just lying.
Well said, brother. Well said. Okay, y'all. Well, we gonna close it on down. I ain't gonna say too much more. It's been a great show, if you ask me. I'm doing a quick final check to make sure I didn't miss anybody's cash app. Which I look like I got them all in. So I'm gonna say y'all have a great weekend. Okay. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. And we do this 9 a.m. Chicago time, y'all. 9 a.m. Chicago time. I understand you might be somewhere else, but 9 a.m. Chicago time, Monday through Friday. I will see y'all then. Long live the habitual line steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.